I just hit 3,000 days in my hardcore world, and we all know what that means. It's time for another movie.
You're joking. Not another one?
So sit back, grab some snacks, and keep your tea at hand as we dive into the construction of our 16 million item storage system, a tiny big garden teeming with farms, a village transformation, and of course, a whole load of bridges. Last episode, we reached 2,000 days in our hardcore world, and since then, I've been doing a little bit of digging. Trading, digging and trading. In fact, we've done so much, it's actually now day 2036. So yeah, we've spent 36 days basically digging a big hole. But what a mighty big hole it is. We've actually got 3 floors in here now. If we have a little look at this. We have so much space down here and a lot of storage to build. And in today's episode, I want to try and get more of this floor done. We have wired up all the redstone for the next 2 rooms, and I think I'm gonna make this one the ocean room. So that means we're gonna need to get all the sand and bits, we're gonna need all the prismarine things, and we're probably going to put a big fish tank in the back here. But the good news is, from all this digging, I've been using the villagers to heal my pickaxes as I go, and that means we've also got loads and loads of redstone now. We've got at least 3 double chests of it, so hopefully we should have enough redstone to finish the rest of this storage system as well. And something else I'd like to do today, I think, is to get the roof on this bit here, which will actually help to pull it all together a little bit as well. So first things first, we need to go on a little gathering mission. We need to go get all the blocks that we're going to be storing in here and lay them all out and make sure that we've definitely got enough room down there. And we should probably go to bed, it's nighttime already. And with any luck, we might even get some of the contraptions at the top of the storage unit as well, which are actually going to sort all the unstackables, the shulkers, and all that malarkey. But let's see how we get on. Please don't be a creeper, please don't be a creeper. I hate this. I really need to make that portal safe. I've been shot by skeletons through there a couple of times, which means it's very possible for creepers to get in there as well, and I dread the day that happens. So I've got all the sandy bits together, I've got all the coral together, the snow, the ice, and all that malarkey, as well as some building blocks we're going to be needing. However, we do need to go take a trip over to the ocean monuments. And there she is, coming out of the fog, our wonderful airship guardian farm. I love this build. And even though we only did a tiny bit of AFK here, we have so much stuff. We've already got some blocks made up, but we've also got just boxes and boxes of everything here. So we're probably never going to have to actually AFK here again. But let's just grab what we need. We'll grab some of them. We'll grab a whole bunch of these. A bunch of these as well. Should have brought an empty shulker with me, but I didn't. So let's just dump all this in the ender chest for now. Whoops. And we'll take a bunch of shards as well, because we're going to need to make some dark prismarine too. But I think that's now everything we're going to need to sort out this next part of storage, so let's head back and start this build. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is work out exactly where everything is going in here, and hopefully that's not going to be too difficult. Although if I put the coral down, it's going to dry out and die, isn't it? So yeah, we're going to need to flood that little bottom bit there. Let's grab some water, and if we just waterlog these slabs here, that should be enough to keep the coral alive. So I think I've got this laid out how I want it. We've got all the sand and sand variants here with big boxes. We're going to have all the slabs down the bottom, including snow layers, and then we're going to have all the stairs and walls at the top. On this side, we've then got all the main coral blocks. The actual bits of coral themselves are going to be in a different room. I've decided to categorize them elsewhere. And then we've got sponges, snow, we've got all the ice, although I have actually used a bit of blue glass there because the ice would just melt. And then, of course, the prismarine. So that should be everything we need in this room. We just need to make it look nice. And step 1 for that is to remove the floor and then rebuild it a block lower, because I think I want to use sand for this. And of course, without a supporting floor, that's never going to work. And I think instead of just sand, we'll mix in a little bit of sandstone here as well to give it a bit of texture. And we'll have a couple of bits of coral here and there as well. But if we're extremely clever, which has been known to happen, what we can do is waterlog a slab. And in theory, we should be able to actually keep the color in some of this coral. That'll be nice. Or not. Is it not going to work? Did I put it on the wrong one? I put it on the wrong one. Lovely, that's the floor done. Right, let's make a start on these walls, shall we? And I think I've got a rough idea of how I want to do this. We're going to make heavy use of prismarine in here, of course, to make it all look oceany and underwatery. And I think a small aquarium at the back here, just with a bit of movement and a bit of life in it, is going to look quite cool as well. And I might even sort of make it look a little bit like an ocean monument. We can have an arch ceiling, maybe. I don't know. I'm going to have a little play around, which means you're probably about to get a time lapse, and I'll bring you back in once we've got something a bit prettier to look at in here. It's a good good start, but I think we need to get some texture in it. It's looking a little bit bland, really, isn't it? And for that, we're going to use a combination of this prismarine, and I think we're also going to use some copper, which I have had down here aging, and, well, not much has aged at all, really, yet, has it? Let's grab the ones that are almost there. Well, apart from the bits of copper that still need to change colour, I think that's looking pretty good, but once it is all this colour instead of this and this, it should actually tie in really nicely. The lighting's good, although we do need a logo in the floor, but we'll do that at the end. Next up, what I want to do is sort out a fish tank of some sort at the back here. I think it makes sense to make a sandy floor to begin with, so let's see what we can pull off. Pretty good. It just needs a bit of life in there now, and I seem to be getting some weird sort of texture effect. I wonder if that's the connected glass pack that's making the water look like that. I don't know. Either way, let's go catch some animals. Although it has just occurred to me I didn't add any sea pickles, and that just won't do. Much better. Brightens the place up too. One ocean room done. That's looking really cool. And hopefully we'll end up with a turtle in there as well, if that egg hatches. I don't know if it's a bit crammed in there, but hopefully we'll end up with a turtle. I guess we'll find out over time. The only other thing I want to do in here, I think, other than the logo, of course, which we'll get to in just a moment, is put another light in over here. This corner's looking a little bit dark. There we go, much better. Oh, we need to get some frames up as well. Let's quickly do that. And with that, that is all of the frames done. And I've also added a bit of sponge into the roof here, some wet sponge so it drips. And I think that just adds a nice little bit of watery effect there. That's quite cool. I've also managed to get all the frames in at the top here just to identify what all of these things are in these boxes. And we have one spare box over here. And we also have a spare column here, which is why I wasn't too concerned about covering it up a little bit. But the last thing to do is to put in a icon of some sort. So, well, you know, it needs to match up with the other ones, I guess. And I thought about this long and hard, and I think there's only one thing that can really go here, and that is, of course, a guardian. I did try a few other things here, like waves and like little islands and all sorts, but yeah, wasn't a lot of space to work with. So the guardian just works really, really well, and it adds a nice bit of color as well. So with that job done, it's time to move on to the last floor, well, the last corridor, I should say, on this floor. And this one is going to be a little bit more dark and mysterious than the ones we've done so far, because this corridor is going to house the nether blocks and the deep dark at the back of the room. So as you can see, we've got lots of boxes all lined out. Hopefully these are the ones we're going to need. I don't think we need any additional ones, and there should be a few left over as well, because I do like to build in a little bit of excess. But once again, the first thing to do is to head home, grab the blocks we need, and get them all laid out. I think we are done. Yep, that should work out quite well. Design-wise, I think we're going to have a nether section at the front here, and then we're going to have it a bit more deep slatey, deep cavey at the end here, and then we'll put a nice big cave at the back. First things first, though, let's dig out the floor and do the nether section. Looking pretty good. We've managed to get some nethery stuff in. We've made it look a bit like a fortressy bit with some other sort of red stuff at the top, and we've also got lots of glowstone and some of the lanterns, and overall I think that ties together quite nicely. But now it's time to crack out the deep slate, move on to the deep dark, and work out these sections here. Looking good. Now to do the next one. skulk and having to get more, we have completed the second room as well. And this one's basically the same as this one here. But as a whole, I think that's starting to look quite good. Yep, I like that. This is definitely going to work, I think. And now we need to do the cave at the back here. So let's see what we can rustle up. That all got a little bit dramatic, didn't it? Jeez. But I really like that room. I think that's come out really, really well. And at the back here, we did sneak back down to the deep dark. We grabbed ourselves one of these screamy things because, well, they're terrifying. And in theory, it should only set off if we're grabbing these sort of stairs and bits, which, to be honest, we're probably not going to use too much. So, yeah, we're likely to forget about that and make ourselves jump later on in the series. But, of course, no room is complete without a logo in the floor. And I think I know exactly what I'm going to do on this one. And there we go. Nice and simple. I think we've got ourselves a little ghast there, and hopefully that should work nicely. I did try putting a white one in there, but it was a little bit bright. But now with 4 rooms done up here, there's only one thing left to get this floor finished, and that is, of course, the roof here. And I think I'm going to try and do a domed roof, and this could be a terrible idea, but let's give it a go, shall we? There's an Enderman in my elevator. Well, as long as he's enjoying himself. Anyway, so I think I've just about laid out the dome roof. This should work quite nicely. I've just got to struggle to fill in the gaps now. And I think what I'm going to do is reflect the floor colour. So this section here is going to be sort of sandy, although I guess I'm going to have to use sandstone. And then we'll have green terracotta, grey terracotta, red terracotta, and so on. Well, I've got the ceiling in. I love the shape, but it's mighty dark up there. So I wonder, do you reckon we can get a chandelier in of some kind? Oh yes, that's the one. That's looking much better. We can actually see what's going on up here now. We've got a lovely little shape going on. And I've also hidden some lights down here in these bits, which should light up the floor more. So overall, we're definitely looking a lot brighter. And I think this floor just needs one more thing. Well, a few more things to bring this really to life. And that is to extend these rooms out a little bit. So for example, over here, I think I might stick out like a little bit of a fortress bridge. And then over here, we could use trees. Over here, maybe even some more sponge. I don't really know. I'm going to have a little play around. But that means we should also be able to bring some extra lighting into these corners here and have it fit in nicely. And let's get these boxes out of the way too so we can see the whole room properly. And with a few subtle extra bits in the corners here, I really like the bridge over here. I think that really does add a lot as well. And of course, these bits here, I think we're actually done on this floor, which means we have our first 4 corridors 100% complete. And not only that, we've also got all of the water streams in as well around the back here, so everything should work absolutely fine. And everything will actually be starting here. So this is where it's going to drop down from the floor above, and it will end over this side here. Somewhere around here. Where is it? Down here. And this is where it's going to drop down to the floor below and go around the next system and so on. However, we do need to, of course, use our dolphins around here. But we're going to have to save that for next episode because sadly, that's all we've got time for today. Only 2 more floors to go. It's been a few episodes since we moved to a brand new area. And in that time, we've made this, that, this. And now it's raining, which makes me sad. But although we've done lots of stuff over here, I think we need to build something else on the surface today. And there's a couple of farms I need as well. So I think building something new up here and doing a bit more of the landscaping is going to work out nicely for us. Before we get to that, however, I've got a confession to make. You see, it's actually been a couple of weeks since I've done any recording. I took a couple of weeks off for the holiday season and I had a wonderful time and I'm really grateful to be back. But during that time, although I couldn't record, I did do a little bit of building. Because I was away visiting the family, I didn't have all my recording stuff, but I have been busy down here in storage. And as you can see, there is actually a whole other floor down here now. And if we go down and take a look, we have this area here, which is all our flowers and foliage. It's all organized. It's all working around the back as well. And this should hold everything we need. We've even got a bunch of empty boxes down the end. We've also got a broken vault at the back here, which is, well, it's surprisingly empty at the back at the moment. I don't really have the extra diamond blocks just yet. But this one is all organized, although I do still need to find some deep slate emeralds, and I need to get some more netherite bits for up here so I can actually put the filters in for those. I've also created a corridor of color, and in here we have lots of drippy stuff on the ceiling, which I really do like, but we're sorting out banners, colored glass, we've got the dyes in here, as well as powdered and solid concrete. And last but not least, we have even more color. We have all the wool and the terracotta, as well as glazed terracotta at the back here, and right at the very back, we just have terracotta that is undyed. But with another floor complete, we are now 2/3 2/3 done on the storage, and I'll probably do these ones here in between episodes as well. I'm not entirely sure, but if we look at the days, we're now at day 2160. So yeah, it's taken me well over 100 days just to get these 4 rooms in. Like I said though, we're going to need some fresh air, so we're going to head outside to begin with. One thing I did realize when I was doing the color rooms down there is that I don't really have easy access to dyes. I really had to scavenge around to get the bits I needed just to put the filters in and get the labels on the boxes. And so that means I think we should put some dye farms up here. And that of course means that we need to build something else to hide it in. And I think what I want to do is put a giant Lego brick up here and treat that as kind of an entrance to an area where we're going to have a few flower farms and of course a cocoa bean farm as well. And I think with that, I should cover all of the dyes we need, because we've already got a cactus farm, we've got bone mills, so we can get most of the dyes by mixing things from the 2 tall plants. Although we're probably going to need a squid farm as well at some point for the black dye. So that's the plan. Big yellow bricks, some flower farms, and a cocoa bean farm. And I think I'm going to situate that around here somewhere, but the first thing I need to do is to go get myself some concrete. And in fact, I've probably got everything I need for that right here. Or not, as apparently I don't have any sand left. Guess we're taking a trip home after all. Maybe I should think about actually sorting out this portal and making it safe today. But then I haven't blown up yet. I'm back at the matchbox with a whole bunch of blue concrete powder, but I need this to be solid blue concrete. And instead of just putting a puddle of water on the floor and doing it that way, I'm actually going to come over here and make myself a small contraption inside the giant licorice all sorts. So I'll get rid of this bit of light here for now. So this should be fairly straightforward. What we'll do is we'll stick a chest in the floor down here, hopper on top. We'll just quickly frame this out a little bit. We'll point an observer there, frame this out just a little bit further, and then we're going to put a slab there. We'll put a temporary one there as well with a block of ice, get some water going, stick a dropper in the floor down here, and we'll have another observer looking at that one. Although that's going to fire it twice, isn't it, for every block? So maybe we can actually slow this down a little bit. Well, that should hopefully slow it down enough. If not, we've got a few more ticks we can add down the bottom here. But in theory, we can encase that as well and cover up this bit. And in theory, we should be good to go. So let's grab a bunch of this blue concrete powder and chuck it in here. Put this stack in our offhand, and let's see how we go. But I'm going to make a bit of space here just so we can see if we're getting too much concrete out of the dispenser. Okay, so it looks like we're not actually getting quite enough from the dropper. So let's actually speed this up a little bit. Okay, we'll give it one more tick. Okay, so it looks like we're not going to be able to get this perfect, but it was definitely better just with 2 ticks, one there and one down the bottom. So now I can just stand here and I can make all of this concrete solid, and my offhand's getting filled up as we go. Excellent. I don't trust that the water isn't stealing some of my blocks though. Yep, let's see. So what we'll also do is stick a hopper down the bottom here as well, just so if anything does happen to fall into the water stream, at least it can still go into our chest down the bottom there. I guess I should probably make the rest of this look a bit nicer in here, shouldn't I? There we go, that'll do. I've also added a barrel here with a hopper so we can actually put a lot more of the concrete powder in at any one time. But I think we're ready just to stand here and get lots and lots of blue concrete, and then we can go outside and make our Lego. And I can hear... What? Yep, zombies. I can hear zombies. The blue concrete is now sorted, and I've made a decision. That spider is sitting pretty much where I want to put this Lego block. So he's going to have to go first off. Sorry, buddy. And I need to mark out a Lego brick over here. And I think what I'm going to do is a 2x2 Lego brick. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be about 12 across, then 12 back, and of course 12 up. In fact, I think it only wants to go about 9 back. Let's try that. Because of course we do need to leave space for the studs on the back here as well. So let's just get this cube filled in and see how the size looks in comparison to everything else. It took a good few attempts, but I think we managed to get the size pretty accurate to what's going on around here. And now what we need to do is figure out the farms themselves. So what I have started doing is, if we go in the front here, we've got a little hole, and I've started digging out an area where we're going to put them. We do, of course, still have a lot of work to do out the front here. We need to make this all look nice, blend in with the landscape. We need to texture it a little bit, which is going to be interesting with blue concrete. And we need to sort out how we're actually going to get up into this middle bit, but I do have an idea for that. First up, though, I need to dig a much bigger area down here, and we're going to see if we can squeeze in some farms. Made the hole a little bit bigger and worked out where I think I need these things to go, because I also need to leave space to get round the back so we can actually load them up with bone meal. So let's see if we can figure out how these are going to go together. Maybe we should do the one on this side first. So we'll start off with a barrel with a hopper in the back. and a grass block on top with a stair in front of that. Now we need to block in this block here a little bit. Let's just do this for now, and a space at the back here, and we need to get a hopper minecart inside the grass block. So if we do this, this should work fine. Beautiful, let's just give it a little nudge. And another block, and that should stop that from moving. Then we'll have 2 dispensers there, and now we need to power these. So what's going to be the best way to power these, do we think? Okay, I reckon if we get rid of these blocks for now, we'll put a sticky piston there, we'll have an observer looking down there, and we'll have another one looking up. And that seems to be doing its thing, beautiful. And then if we just put a block there with redstone on top, that is hopefully firing both of these. Yep, that one's going. And that one's going as well. Perfect. With a log on top of there and a lever, we can just turn that on and off. Oh, and it goes faster now. Okay, let's just... yep, that's fine. Whatever. So now we just need to block this in a little bit. So we'll have a column either side. Solid walls. And so it's not all dark and miserable in there, we'll stick a lantern at the top. Beautiful. So next up, we need to figure out how to get bone meal into these. And I think what we're going to do is a couple of hoppers there and maybe just stick a chest on top. Did I bring any chests? But we'll just stick a chest there and we can put the bone meal inside. We're going to need to put a ladder or something on this side so we can actually get up here, but just enough headroom. Perfect. So let's just finish framing this out. We'll get some glass in the front. We are, of course, going to need to put the 2-tool flower in there, but I think that's pretty much all we need. And we'll just make a little corridor here so we can get around the side. We'll stick a ladder up there, and that should be absolutely perfect. And there we go. Right, so now we just need to make another 3 of these along here, but that shouldn't really be too much of an issue. We know what we're doing now. I've now completed all 4 of the farms we're going to require for the 2-tool flowers, although I do actually need to go get the flowers, that would probably help, and I need to load them up with bone meal, but conveniently we have a stash of bones right here, and we've got easy access to the chests at the back. However, there's also a couple of other things I want to do with this space, one of which I think I'm just going to put a barrel wall over here, so if we've got a bunch of these, we'll just have this for a bit of extra storage. There we go, just something simple like that will be fine. And over this side, I think what I want to do is put a micro cocoa bean farm, and I've got an idea of how this could potentially work. Let's just make some space and see if we can pull it off. So what I'm thinking is if we just have a hopper there and probably a second one there, and then we'll just block that in a little bit. And if we put a dispenser there, another one there, and are we going to need 3? Maybe? I guess it's better to be safe than sorry. Let's stick another one. No, not quite like that. We'll have another one there. That should do it. And we'll see if we can keep this nice and simple. So let's run a redstone line over the top of these. An observer looking down there and another one looking up here. And I think we can probably get away with just putting a block with a redstone dust there and a sticky piston down here and a redstone dust on top there. Okay, that seems to be firing the dispensers. And we can turn them off. Beautiful. So now comes the slightly more tricky bit. So if we imagine that is a jungle log, what we need to do is when we place a cocoa bean, all of these are going to fire, and then we need a slight delay before this then gets pulled away. So, how are we going to do this? So if we put a sticky piston there, and I guess what we can probably actually do is if we use a repeater. Do I have any repeaters? There's one. If we do something like that, can we sort of slow down the signal so this doesn't fire too quickly? Does that even matter? I mean that feels like it's probably going to maybe potentially work. I guess the only way to find out is to test it, isn't it? Let's quickly block in these last little bits just so we don't have all the things escaping. Although it is a bit dark in there, isn't it? So let's do that. In order to test this, however, I'm going to need a jungle log and I'm going to need some cocoa beans. And of course, I need to fill these up with some bone meal, but at least that's not a problem. Bone meal's in. Let's quickly check these are actually working. They are. And it would appear that we can actually turn them on 2 at a time. Okay. Okay, not quite what I expected, but that's fine. That just means we don't need this. And we don't need this. Close enough. We also don't need all the extra observers and sticky pistons back there, but we'll rip those out later. For now, I really want to test this and see if this is going to work. So we'll put a jungle log there. We'll hold these. We'll do this. No, that. Yep, okay, right. It's loud, but let's see if it works. Okay, the question is, did we get more than we planted? Well, it looks like it, doesn't it? Okay, that's loud. Let's turn that off. Well, it's definitely working. So, yeah, we used... How many did we use? We had a whole stack, right? So we used 16 and we got 32. So it doubles our cocoa beans? It's better than nothing. If I stand back a bit further, it works better because then I'm only placing it when it's actually getting bone milled. So let's just use this whole stack here and we'll see what we end up with. Well, for a very janky machine, it's done all right. We turned one stack into 2.5 stacks. So, yeah, that'll do. So with all of these working, albeit not quite how we expected any of them to actually work, but they do what they need to do. They create dyes for us and random blocks. Let's pick those up. Yep, making a mess. Jeez. But we can now get a whole bunch of dyes. We can even mix some of these together to get some of the other ones. The only thing we're actually missing now, I believe, is black dye, but we'll solve that another day. For now, I want to make the inside of this look nice, and of course, we need to sort out the outside, we need to sort out the entrance, and see if we can get this blended into the landscape. Yes, I did totally go out of my way to go get some animals and attach them to poles for that, but I found a funny bit in the music and I couldn't help myself. Your work here is done. Ooh, that's weird. Go forth and be free. But besides the minor distraction, we're definitely making some good progress over here. If I quickly land over here on this bit of grass, we can see that the landscape is starting to tie together a little bit better. We've still got gaps here. In fact, there's a very specific gap right there, apparently. And still lots more landscaping to do, of course. But I kind of don't really want to go any further here because we do need to sort out the portal at some point. And we also need to get rid of all the grass over here by the matchbox. That needs to be coarse dirt and tie in with everything else too. But for now, I think that's definitely looking quite good. And if we head over to the Lego cube, we can follow this path here. What I've done is I've created an entrance round the side here. So you loop round, that brings you up here, and of course you can get down into here, which I've done a very, very basic design on. Kind of wanted to make it look a little bit natural and cavey, while at the same time maintaining a little bit of the blue from the Lego. I've also started playing around with the idea of adding some of these mud patches. There's one there and there's another one just over here, and I think from a distance, if we fly away again, I think they really do help mix up the terrain a little bit. They just add some darker patches, some wet patches, if you will, and I think that combined with the rocks and some of these other matches we've brought down as well, it is really starting to come together, but still lots more things we can do with this. Sadly, that's all we've got time for now, however. I've got a lot of storage to build, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye now. Dark prismarine, grey terracotta, black concrete, light grey glass panes. Oh, I'm gonna have you all. But there's gotta be a better way than this. So last episode, we plonked down a giant Lego brick in our oversized garden, smashed a hole through the back and jammed in some dye farms. And as a result, we now have access to almost all the dyes, but we do still need black dye, and that will of course also then give us access to the greys. And for that, we're going to need to make a squid farm, and I have found the perfect, albeit very unlikely location to actually put one. But we're gonna get to that in a short while, because first, there's a couple of things I want to do over here on our storage system. And what I want to do is to put in the loading system, just a basic one that's going to filter out the stackable items from the unstackables and also filter out shulker boxes. And that's going to start somewhere up here and will end over in this corner here. So it's going to be a weird little redstone contraption, I guess, to get this working, which will look something a little bit like that. And I know it looks really complicated, but I assure you it is. I mean, I can tell you what it does, but I might struggle to tell how certain bits of it work, which is why I didn't do it on camera in the first place. So at the top here, we have 3 different filters. This one here is for stackable items. This one is for shulkers, whether they've got stuff in them or not. And this last one is for unstackables, and they all get sent off in different directions. So the stackable items follow this route down, and they end up in this dispenser and go into the water stream. The shulkers, they will go down into this shulker unloader, and if there is anything in a shulker box, that will get unloaded once again into this water stream, and the empty shulkers will follow through as well, and any unstackable items go across the top and go down into this barrel here. The problem is, however, we we might also have unstackable items in the shulkers. So once they've been emptied, we have to put them through another one of those filters at the top. And what this does is it will separate all the stackable items this way. All the unstackables will once again go through into this barrel here. And lastly, all of the empty shulkers end up in here. What I need to do now, however, is test it. The theory's good, but yeah, let's hope it works. So I'm going to dump some random stuff in this shulker. We'll put a couple of unstackable items in there as well as some stackables. We've got a couple of empty shulkers as well, and we'll put just a stack of terracotta in to give us some time to get downstairs. And hopefully everything's going to end up in the right place. So this is good. Stackable items are coming directly out the bottom there, and hopefully we haven't ended up with anything that shouldn't be in these. Good, good, good. Now let's keep an eye out for the shulkers. Oh, there they go. The first one was empty. The second one is emptying out now, and that should crush down once it's empty. And there we go. All the shulkers have gone through. So we don't have anything down here that is not stackable. That's good. We have our 3 empty shulkers in there. That's good. And we have our stackable items over here. Perfect. One last thing we didn't check, though, was this top filter for unstackable items. So let's just go chuck a pickaxe in. And hopefully that'll end up in the right place too. Ah! So as I was saying, let's chuck a pickaxe in there. Jeez. And pickaxe is in the right place as well. Perfect. So the basic unloading system is now in. All we'll need to do is pipe these off to storage somewhere, all the unstackable items. The shulkers, we're probably going to pump them into a big stack of chests somewhere as well, I guess. And everything else will go down a water stream that I'm yet to put in, but this actually links all the way around and goes down into our storage system. But that's enough boring redstone. Let's go get ourselves a dolphin. To rethink our strategy. This isn't working, and I've run out of name tags. But I do have some tasty raw fish. Gliding attempt was definitely better, but I think I just picked up a little bit too much speed, and eventually it broke. So maybe if I do that and swoop up every now and then, I might be able to make it over here. But as I say, I've run out of name tags, which was clearly another mistake. Should have name tagged it once I actually got it here safely. But as I say, we'll come back to that later. For now, we're going to build a squid farm. And we're not going to build it over there. We're actually going to be building it somewhere a little bit obscure, or at least somewhere I didn't really realize existed. But first, what do we know about squid farms? So squid will only spawn between Y50 and Y63, which means we need to do it at sea level. But not only that, we need to make sure that it's in either a river or an ocean biome. So I was looking around the area for somewhere nice to put one, and yes, that does look pretty good over there. But then I noticed this tiny patch of water here, and in here, as you can see, squid are spawning. And that got me thinking, why would they spawn there? And then I saw this little valley here, and it turns out, if we press F3 and look at the biome, this is actually a river. This is a dried out riverbed, and it's right next to where we're building, which means we can have a squid farm right here. But what I do need to do is actually mark out the edges of the river biome. But as you can see, it is quite wide. It goes all the way out to about here somewhere. Here. So we've got a nice big area here where we can put a squid farm. Although the sun's going down, so we should probably nap first so we don't get explodinated. There we go. This should be much easier in daylight. So the first thing I want to do is actually mark out where the edge of the river biome is. This could be a little bit tedious because I need to basically go through block by block and mark where the edge of the biome is all the way around here until we've got pretty much a big enough area to actually build a farm. Well, it wasn't as painful as I was expecting, but I have marked out a nice wide bit of the river here where we should be able to put our squid farm. There is plenty more river that way, but it gets a little bit narrow. But here, there should be plenty of space. So what I'm going to do now is mark out a square where we're actually going to put the farm. We'll see how we can fit one in here, and then we're going to get to some digging and draining and all sorts to try and make this work. I've marked out a square. This should be plenty big enough for our squid farm, but now we need to decide what farm we're actually going to do, because there's a number of ways we can capture and kill the squid here to actually collect the ink sacs. So one option will be to use axolotls. They do kill squids, and then we could collect the ink sacs that way, but that just doesn't seem very efficient. We could do a logical Geek Boy style farm with portals and send them through to the Nether, but because this is so close to our base area and we are going to have a portal around here somewhere connecting to where we actually do want to go into the Nether, having a portal to a kill chamber just seems like a dangerous thing to do. So we're going to be avoiding that. So that's going to leave us with the old fence drop trick. And I think we're going to do a farm which you probably all know. It's a very straightforward one by Mango that just involves tall columns of water and a kill chamber at the bottom where they die to full damage. It is going to involve a lot of digging, but I think it's going to be the simplest and most efficient farm for us in this particular location. So I guess the first step is to dig out a great big hole, and we need to make sure that we actually fill in the water here as well, because that's just going to get in the way. A short while later and the squid hole is now complete. I've also lined the edge with some stone brick just so I don't accidentally dig into it in future should I be doing anything else around here. And I've stopped at this level because this is the top level that squids can spawn. We'll worry about hiding the farm later, but for now we do want to get it working. So the next step is to mark out where I'm going to be putting the columns of water. So let's see if we can find the center point and get this marked out. So let's just mark where the water's going to go with some wool for now. So that was fairly straightforward. All of these orange bits of wool will actually be columns of water, but what we need to do now is to go down here and put in some fence posts to actually make sure they stop. Otherwise they're just going to go on forever and ever, and we certainly don't want that. So I need to build up to layer 50 because they won't spawn below that anyway. And in fact, to make my life a bit easier here, I'm going to put in a quick temporary floor. So I've matched the grid down here to what we've got up there. At least I think I've perfectly lined them up. That should be fine. And what we now need to do is put a fence on the bottom of every single block. And then we need to make sure that all of these are open. And then we need to put a fence gate on every single side of these blocks as well. The mess of gates is now ready, so let's add some water and see if it works. It looks like we've got all the fence gates in correctly. No water is leaking or anything like that, and they all appear to be open, so we should be able to remove this floor. And it looks like we're getting some squid already as well, which is good. But let's quickly remove this floor, and then we'll work on a collection system. Just went off to make myself a cup of tea and left this running, and as you can see, it's definitely working. We are having many squid fall down. In fact, it's a lot faster than I expected, which is marvellous. I haven't even drained out all the water in the area yet, and to be honest, the amount of squid spawning in, I don't think I'm going to need to. So for a collection system, what we need to do is not just run around the bottom here picking it all up, but instead I think we're going to put down a minecart hopper collection system and have that going around and just dump everything into a chest for now. And then we need to figure out how we're going to hide this thing. We're making some progress down here. I've managed to get all the rail in. The minecart goes back and forth, picks everything up, and then when it gets to the end, it comes all the way back again. And what I've done is I've put in a minecart unloader over here. So if we have a quick look in the back here, we can just see there's a very simple minecart unloader, and then we've also got a dropper down there, which then sends everything into this water stream and up to the surface. Although something else I could do with is a route for me to get up to the surface, because currently there isn't one of those, but we'll tackle that in a little while. So up on the surface here, we've got this monstrosity of a collection unit, and this is what we now need to hide, as well as, of course, the squid pond itself. And I use the word pond because I think we should be able to get away with doing something a little bit sneaky here, and that's going to involve a bunch of trapdoors and a couple of buckets. So my thinking is I should be able to get away with covering all these up with trapdoors because they're not solid blocks, which means squid will still spawn, but because this level is actually the first level where squid can't spawn, in theory, I'm hoping I can just flood the whole area and turn this into a small pond. Now, I do have other ideas of how we can hide the rest of this as well, but we'll get to that shortly. First, let's test this out. Step 1's complete. We've got the lake in, and no squid seem to be spawning anywhere else. I've sort of flown around the area a little bit just to check, but the squid are only spawning in the columns, which is exactly what we wanted, which means this is going to work exactly how we had hoped. However, it looks very square, it looks very horrible, and we need to make it fit in with everything a little bit better. So I'm going to grab a bunch of coarse dirt. We'll probably get some mud as well, a bit of soul sand, who knows. It's very wet over here, so I think using actual mud blocks would make more sense. And then we need to remove this monstrosity and put something else there to hide the storage. Well, it's not a bad start, but it's going to need a lot more work than that. But what I want to do is actually try and get in the bit where we're going to be hiding the collection point for this. And it's actually going to be a few blocks set back from where it's coming up at the moment, so we're going to have to solve that problem as well. But what I want to do is put in a giant pipe that's sort of being exposed from the ground a little bit. And my thinking is we can then hide the storage inside it, and we can put a small crack in the pipe, and that's what's going to be leaking into this tiny little pool over here, because we've got to bear in mind scale. This biscuit is huge. huge. And the sun's gone down again. Jeez. I need to plan my clip recording better so I don't have to sleep halfway through them every time. So as I was saying, we're going to put in a nice big pipe here. We're going to sort of blend that into the landscape over the back here. So we're going to need a lot more dirt and coarse dirt built up as well. And once we've got that in, hopefully that's going to set the scale for this side a little bit better. And we can then see exactly how far we really need to push out this mud, because I think it's going to have to go out a lot further than that to make it look good. So I need to go inside the suite over here, make myself a bunch of grey concrete. But before I can do that, I really need to heal my tools. So I guess you're probably going to see another short time lapse of me building a big tube. There we go, one very basic looking pipe, and I think that's probably about right scale wise. It's not too big for the biscuit or anything like that, and it's also not too small. And I think what we're going to do is put a big hole in the side of it. We're going to have water dribbling out, and that's what's going to fill up our little pool here. But first up, I need to blend this into the landscape a bit more and give it a bit of texture, and I need to figure out how we're actually going to pump this stuff into there without it looking weird. With the landscaping, but the pipe is looking a lot better. I've mixed in a combination of stone, tuff, and a little bit of the old moss and mossy cobble, and I think that really does help make it blend in a little bit better. I've also sorted out the inside, and this is a very simple collection system. It's just a bunch of chests and hoppers, but if these ever do fill up, or if there's just too much coming through, then the excess will get burned, so hopefully this won't ever back up. And then I've just added a bunch of water either side because, well, it is a pipe after all. So the next step's going to be to add some foliage and some decoration around here, and maybe even a mushroom or two. I really like that. I think that's coming out really, really well. And the mushrooms especially. I took a bit of a gamble on those. I didn't really know how to do mushrooms, but I think they've come out quite well. And it's nice to have a bit of variation in the landscape, so we'll probably use those in a few of the other sort of damper spots as well. But I also really love these little fireflies we've got going on and some other little flies going around. But overall, this just really ties in. You'd never know there was a squid farm under there, apart from the weird checkered pattern down there. I also removed a bunch of the trees that were on this slope, but we've got a long way to go to get rid of the rest of them, because they really do sort of destroy the scale of what's going on over here. And I've managed to get a bit more coarse dirt down around the back here, but we do need to get a lot more, and we need to actually texture the ground here as well. So yes, still lots of work to do, but very pleased with how it's coming along so far. And the good news is the whole time we've been up there building, we've also been collecting ink and a bit of salmon, it would seem. And no idea where that piece of bone meal's come from. So with our squid farm looking good and this area building up quite nicely, I guess it's time to try and get that dolphin again, isn't it? I really need to get one in my storage system. And I still don't think I've even told you why yet, but we'll get to that when I finally get one over here. I think I did it. I think I did it. Yes, we finally have a dolphin over here. Welcome, Mr. Dolphin. And now he's here, we need to make sure we don't lose him. So let's give him a little bit of light, make sure he's got some air, but also make sure there is nothing he can jump up and land on, and he can't jump out of the pool altogether. There we go, that should do the trick. And you, sir, are going to come in very useful next episode, because sadly, we've run out of time for today, but I hope you've enjoyed yourselves, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye-bye now. Last episode, we built a squid farm in our tiny big garden, and hid it, of course, and we stole a dolphin from the ocean. Certainly not on the first attempt, but we got one here eventually. And now it's finally time to give this dolphin a job in our storage system, using one of its unique mechanics. Let me explain. Having a storage system that will sort every item in the game is great. No more messing about with shulker monsters. But there is a problem. The larger a storage system gets, the longer it takes items to travel around it. And as I'm sure we're all aware, entities laying around will despawn after 5 minutes. Now, I don't expect anything to despawn currently. It takes items about 80 seconds to get through each floor, and we're going to have 3 floors. In theory, it should be okay. But if we also factor in all the input tubes and the sorters at the top, as well as the fact we're going to need a 4th floor for bulk storage, we're going to be cutting it a little bit fine and run the risk of losing items. So here's what we're going to do about it. So I did a bit of research on the old YouTubes. It was a while back now when I was first designing this storage system, but I came across a very unique solution to this problem by cubic meter, utilizing the humble dolphin. Now, the dolphin has a unique quality in that it loves to play, particularly with entities nearby. And here's the great thing. If a dolphin interacts with an entity, it resets that 5-minute despawn timer attached to it. So if we put a dolphin about halfway through our storage system, we can use it to reset all our items moving around the system and then give them more time to find their home. Simple, right? So what I'm thinking is, on the 2nd floor here, probably just before they drop down to the floor below, which I believe is behind this wall here, we're going to add a dolphin, and he's going to pick up all the items and then drop them to continue on the stream, and that will give them plenty of time to get around the next floor and the floor below where the bulk storage will be. So the first thing we need to do is get round the back here, and we need to make a spot to put this dolphin in. And it's a little bit cramped here just before he drops down, so I'm thinking we should have a little bit more space at the end of this row. Yeah, look at this, plenty of space. We'll do it here. Let's make a little containment unit for him. And something a little bit like this should do it. And what we need to do is to get a dolphin into this space here. And he will bounce around. He'll pick up any items that come in here. And then he'll immediately drop them again. And then they can carry on their journey. But they'll have a reset 5-minute timer. Question is, how am I supposed to get a dolphin in here? I think what probably makes the most sense is to try and drop him in from above, so I guess we'll do a little bit of digging. We'll see if we can find a nice place where we can just drop the dolphin straight down into this water here. So this has come out behind the Lego brick off to the side of the matchbox, but if we can get the dolphin over here, then we can just flush him down the tunnel straight where he needs to go, although I do need to obviously hollow that back out again. Something like that should make it a little bit easier. So let's go grab the dolphin, put him on a lead, and I guess hope for the best, although he did take a little bit of damage on the way over here. Maybe I should give him some splash potions first. But for that, I'm going to have to fly all the way back to our starter base. Let's go. Not going to lie, as much as I love our tiny big garden, I do miss this place. But we don't have time for reminiscing. We've got a dolphin to trap. So, potions. Splash potions of healing. Okay, we've got 3. That should hopefully be enough. In fact, yeah, maybe some regen wouldn't be a bad idea either. In fact, can't we give them water breathing and then help them not to suffocate on land, just in case it takes forever? So we'll make a couple of those as well. To make my life easier, I think we're just going to punch a hole out the back here and we can just walk right through. So here comes the difficult parts. I need to make sure I give him one of those and one of those. Okay, that looks to have healed him. And hopefully that's given him water breathing. It's given it to me, so yep, hopefully that's worked. So let's grab Mr. Dolphin. Let's just knock out a little gap here. Come on, fella. Right, wish me luck. So keep coming. Okay, this isn't so bad. That's the one. Easy now. Oh, jeez. Right, okay, let's splash him again. Let's get him reattached. He's a runaway dolphin. Right, come on. And now we need to try and get him to go into this little chamber over here. Come on. That's it. Almost. Almost. Do we need to go back a little bit further? There we go. He's in. He's in. So now I just need to nudge him down this hole. Can I get him to do that? Maybe if I get rid of the water? Aha. It's working. Now I just need to break the lead, but he's a little bit far away. Maybe I should just go up, maybe? Is that going to help? No, that's not going to help at all. There we go. Oh, don't die, dolphin. He is indeed exactly where he needs to be. Now, can I get out of this? I've made a terrible mistake. Let's see if I can fly out of here. And head back round the back of storage. That was dangerous. Okay, so he is definitely in position. What we need to do now is just get a glass block in there, hopefully, without him escaping. And there we go. So now, in theory, anything that falls in the back there, he'll pick up and just carry on. Look at that. It's working. So if we chuck some stuff in back here and then look at the dolphin, yeah, look at that. He's sending all the items off. So that will definitely solve our timing problem. Look at that. This is a very simple implementation of the dolphin, but it's certainly going to do what we need it to do. But if you do want to find out more, then do go check out the video by Cubic Meter, where he explores, well, basically how you can use it to make an item sorter that's incredibly fast. But not so ideal for one that's sorting every item in the game. However, for our needs, this is absolutely perfect. Thank you, Mr. Dolphin, and may you live forever. So with our item entities now able to travel around the entire storage system without despawning, we should probably build the rest of the system, right? First step, let's get the chests and redstone in for the next 4 rooms. The redstone is in place, and now it's time to start decorating. And I think I'm going to start with this room here, which is going to be the redstone room. That's the redstone room done and looking pretty good. Next up, we're going to tackle this small one over here, which is going to be our food room. Nope, I can't do it. I need a break. I've been down here underground all day, and, well, although it's coming along well and it's looking really good, I definitely need to go do something else for a little while. I need to find some sunshine. But to show you what we've done so far properly, this is our redstone room. We've got everything organised as it should be, although some things aren't filtered properly, like, for example, the shriekers. We only have one of those. I've actually stolen that from the room upstairs. We've also got lots of empty boxes for future-proofing and things like that as well, or overflow. We've got lots of space for redstone, so we'll store the blocks in here as well as redstone dust. And over this side, it's a much smaller space, but I love how this has come out. I've just turned it into a bit like a barn, but this is our food storage area. Once again, a few extra boxes as well. And there is one thing I noticed when I was putting in the redstone, and that's around the back here. So if we go around here, you'll notice that this box on the end here isn't sorted, and that's because I made a bit of a boo-boo. This is the only corner this has actually happened, because everywhere else we tend to have kind of mass storage on at least one of these sides. So when we have 2 corridors and 2 corners like this, all the redstone ends up sort of, you know, disjointed, so it doesn't interfere with each other. However, in this instance, we actually have 2 rows of chests on both corners, and this is the only corner this happens. And it basically just means that I can't use this one here, but that's not really a big issue. It's fine. You'd never notice. But as much as I love how these 2 rooms have come out, as I said, I do need to go upstairs, get some sunshine, and just get out from underground. Plus, there's some things we need to do up there. So last episode, we put in this squid farm here, and we hit it. But there is one slight problem, and that is this grid we have here of the trapdoors. But being the clever bunch you are, I've seen a few solutions for this of how we can hide this a bit better, and I think the most obvious one is literally just to replace the trapdoors with glass. If we put another layer of glass down here, yes, it's going to look a little bit shallower, but at least we're not going to have this horrible grid of brown squares. So my first job up here is just going to be to replace these. Oh yes, that looks much better. You can barely even see that there's a farm down there at all. And the good news is the farm's been running the whole time we've been building as well, so we've got so much ink. Wow. Next job is going to involve a little bit more terraforming, and I really like these mushrooms and how they've come out, but we need to add a bit more variety. We need some other mushrooms in here, we need some taller ones, we need some big bits of grass and so on. I just kind of want to tie this area here into the rest of it up the top here, which means essentially sorting out this slope here. So I've been having a look at pictures of mushrooms on Google, and what I've established is you can do mushrooms in pretty much any color and any shape and call it a mushroom. The plan is to add a few more of these brown mushrooms around, but I also want to vary it up a bit, so we're going to add some white ones in, and I think I'm just going to build some growing up the side of this bank here and just see how they turn out. So first up, we'll get a couple of stalks in. I want these ones to be not quite the same as those sort of mushrooms, so let's do something a bit more like that. And then I'm going to use a bit of calcite at the bottom here. Let's see how this goes. We'll just mark out a rough shape. Maybe just something as simple as that. But what I want to do is make sure that certain bits are sticking up a little bit. Just make it look a little bit more alive. So if we do that and then take out these blocks at the bottom here, and then we'll do another little lip here as well. Then I'm just going to build this up a little bit and we'll see how we go. I may end up changing the color of the stalk down there because I think that's going to blend in a little bit too much. I'm going to try mixing in a bit of quartz on the top here as well, some slabs, and just to smooth it over, but I don't really know how that's going to look. Tell you what, that looks absolutely terrible, and I really don't think the calcite's working, so let's see what we can do about this. Well, the top of the tiny mushroom definitely works a lot better without all that calcite in it. However, we do need to sort out the stalk because that's just not working. And there we go, actual mushroom stem looks a lot better than the diorite did. However, we have to bear in mind scale, and this is a tiny mushroom if you consider the blades of grass, the biscuit, and so on. And mushrooms like this, when they grow in clumps. So that means we need to add a bunch more around here, and this will probably be the smallest of the lot, pretty much. They also tend to all grow out of the same kind of stem system, so let's see what we can do about that. Second mushroom's in, however, it does need a little bit of colour, and I think we're going to solve that under the bottom here. And by colour, I just mean an offset, and what we're going to do is use a little bit of oak wood for that, and that should make it look a little bit different on the inside and give it that sort of brown underneath colour of the mushroom. Yep, that's making a massive difference on the inside there. Just adding a few oak planks has really made it pop from the stem, and I think that's pretty much how we're going to do this. You'll be pleased to know I didn't follow through with those mushrooms as they were. They were looking way too bright. So what I've actually done is I've changed them. And I swapped out all the quartz at the top for some white terracotta, and that works much better. You may notice I've also sorted out the landscape around the front here a bit. And if we fly further back, we can see that starting to come together. I've also discovered that the mangrove roots here really do work for breaking up the floor texture here as well. Because of course we do have the rooted dirt as well as the coarse dirt and some normal dirt patches as well. But the normal dirt and coarse dirt don't look too dissimilar there, do they? But adding in these mangrove roots really does help to break it up, as well as a couple of rocks we've got here and there as well. But that's enough sunshine for today. It's time for us to head back underground and carry on building up our storage. So down here we've got 2 rooms left, and I guess we can just pick up where we left off, can't we? So we're going to sort out this room here, which is going to be for mob drops, and I guess we can probably just carry on the music from where it was as well, right? The mob drops room complete and looking pretty cool if I do say so myself, which means we can do our final room, which is all the leftovers. Looking good. Now we just need to sort out all of the water streams and the lobby. Taken absolutely forever to get this done, but this is looking pretty cool. I still want to mix in some of the blocks that we've got coming out of each of the rooms and so on, just to blend them into the lobby a little bit more and get rid of things like this, but this is looking pretty awesome. That is 3 complete floors of our storage done, and not only that, if I pop into free cam and just float up here, we can see that it is actually working marvelously. We've got it sorting through, what's this, glowstone dust at the moment apparently is what's coming through, but we've got lots and lots of stuff being sorted, and the whole thing is working an absolute treat, although there is still one thing remaining, and that is, of course, the last floor. And the last floor is going to be a lot simpler, thankfully. But what we need to do is we need to put in our bulk storage, just for the sheer amount of things like stone, dirt, and so on that we have. We want to be able to fill up the boxes on the correct floor, and then any overflow we want to put into shulker loaded storage. So we'll just have shulkers and shulkers of stuff on the bottom floor, as well as a few other cool contraptions, but we'll get to that soon. For now, let's have a quick tour of this new couple of rooms we've got here. And first up is this room here. So this is our kind of leftovers room. It's pretty much all the stuff you might use for interior interior decoration, and just a few other bits and bobs, all the villager workstations and so on, and I absolutely love how this room looks. And not only that, it also doubles as my bedroom, which is marvellous. And once again, this room does have lots and lots of empty boxes, so we've future-proofed it. It's also got lots of gaps where there's things that I just don't have yet, because, well, we haven't actually been everywhere, we haven't collected every item in the game just yet, but we are now sorting every item we own. And my favourite bit of this room is probably the bookshelf on the floor here. I absolutely love that. I've just used some clear glass here as well, and yep, that looks well cool. And we've also completed our mob room, which I absolutely love, with the little slime logo on the floor, all these weird little moody bits on the ceiling. I think it just works really well, especially with the fake dungeon at the back. But we're sorting all the mob drops in here. We've got the less common items in the smaller boxes, and the ones we're going to end up with likely quite a lot of, because either we have farms or we'll end up with farms. I've given them a little bit more space, but I'm well chuffed with how this is looking so far. I guess the next thing to do is going to be to dig out the next floor, but that's going to have to wait for next episode. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye-bye now. Look at Mr. Dolphin go! Last episode, we busted out all the stops and made some huge progress on our storage area, adding the entire third floor and bringing our ultimate storage system one step closer to completion. We also built a mushroom. Since then, I dug a hole, and now it's time to add our bulk storage room, which is the penultimate room for this epic system that's going to store every single item in the game. In fact, it pretty much already does. We just need to collect the last few items we're missing. And if building this room goes well, then hopefully we'll also be able to add our non-stackable item storage in the matchbox at the top, and then we can call this system done. So as you can see, I have done a little bit of planning down here, and for this bulk storage system, we're going to be using shulker loaders, and I've just about managed to squeeze one in here, and this should do the trick nicely. We've just got a standard impulse sorter at the top there, and then that will filter everything down, which will load into a shulker box that sits there. When it's full, it gets broken, goes into here, and gets stored in these chests here. And we've also got a stream at the back here, so we can constantly load up the shulkers. So we do actually need to connect this up to the system right at the top there, so that we can keep these things fully loaded. And I've got space here for about 40, I think, which I'm hoping is going to be more than enough. But as usual, I've got extra space at the back here should we need to extend it. So I'm going to make a whole bunch of these. I think I've got everything I need in here. Hopefully, it won't take too long. Well, that's one side done. Now to do the other. The second side done. So now what I need to do is to load it up with some shulker boxes, and for that we're going to need a whole bunch of wood to make a whole bunch of chests, and of course a whole bunch of shulker shells. But thankfully, because of our shulker farm, we've got no shortage of those. So let's grab a bunch of these. Then I need to sneak in here, and ideally what I want to do is put 9 shulkers in each one of these, and then place one there for loading. And I've got to do that in all 40 of these units, so we could be here a while. So that's all the shulker boxes loaded, at least enough to get the system started. However, we also need to make sure we sort out this water stream so that it stays loaded. And for that, what we need to do is to make some kind of a tube, I guess, that goes all the way up to the top where we first sort out the shulkers. So currently the shulkers are going into these chests here, but what we need to do is pump them this way and around about here. In fact, if we go back a few further blocks this way, we should be roughly above where we need to be. We just need to dig a really big hole down. That was a pretty good guess. We've come out right next to the pipe we need. So let's see. Dig out a little bit of space here. There we go. That should just about do it. And I guess we can just build our way back to the top. And now we just need to make a water chute that heads over this way. So that should do as my water channel. What I need to do now is put in a dropper system here and link up some hoppers over to where they're actually coming out. And in theory, that should be good to go. Excellent. Let's just block up the top here as well and get some water in. That might actually help. And I think so nothing other than shulkers goes in here or falls in. Let's just put some glass on top as well. So the shulkers are now going to go all the way around the back of all of these. They're going to fully load them, and then what we need to do is send all the excess ones back up there. And I think the only safe way to do that is going to be to dig into the wall a little bit here and put a tube that goes all the way up to the surface. There we go. Beautiful. And if we just slip out there, that should work an absolute treat now. And what we're going to do, just to check that that's all working fine, is dump all of these shulkers into the system and just watch them go. And if we take a look in free cam, we can see them doing their thing. They're slowly filling up. They're going to basically fill up from that side, and they'll keep going until they've filled up the whole system. Then any leftovers should go back to the top. So that should just about do it. Everything is all linked up, and in theory, anything that doesn't actually get sorted, which is pretty much just the mob heads at the moment, we'll just go into this chest over here for now, which of course we will put somewhere a bit more suitable, but I really need to test this out and make sure it's going to work. Thankfully, that shouldn't be too difficult because our stone and cobble boxes are almost full, and we've got about 40 double chests of it up there. So if we feed some of that into the system, it should fill up these and then hopefully go into the overflow down the bottom. So let's just chuck all of these in there, and I'm just going to sit back and relax, let the system run for a little while. I'll probably get the rest of this put into shulkers as well, and we'll probably just actually put these ones directly into the bulk storage area. There's no need to actually run them through the system because I've kept this fairly well organized all the way through, which I'm very glad I did because it's going to make this a whole lot easier. About an hour or so later, and I can confirm everything is working as expected, and I've also managed to clear the upstairs and bring everything down, and look how much stone we've got. This is absolutely ridiculous. Almost 2 double chests already. We've also got all the cobble, diorite, andesite, and so on coming through as well. So the next step is to make this look nice, of course, and I think I'm going to use this color for the floor, which is light grey terracotta. We're going to use that in here, and I think we're probably going to make it look just a bit like a sort of dank storage basement / warehouse type area. And then, of course, we need to decorate the rest of the lobby as well. But these 3 sections here are not going to have an immediate use. I do have plans for this one over here, and the other ones may find a use at some point in future. But for now, it's pretty much just going to be this solitary bit here. So let's get this floor in first and see what we can do. Making a little bit of progress here with the floor. We've got a little shulker symbol on the floor as well, which some of you may recognise from Truly Bedrock Season 2 if you've been around the channel that long. But I've also started putting up some stone. We're going to have a nice stone wall at the back here, and then I need to figure out what to do with the ceiling. Looking pretty good. We just need to get some frames up, but I'm completely out of leather, so we're going to have to solve that later. But for now, I want to focus on the lobby, and we're going to make a red area here, purple here, and light blue over there. And of course, we're going to sort out the ceiling too. Quite nicely. What I've just done here is blocked off the back walls here with some spruce for now. As I say, we do have a purpose for at least this one here, and hopefully we'll come up with a purpose for the other 2 eventually as well. But what we need to do now is focus on the center here, and I need to dig this out. I need to dig down 2, maybe 3 layers. Yep, I think we're going to go 3 layers down, and I've got an idea of what I want to put here. But before I can make a start, I need to remove all this. Then take a strip out along the edge here, and we're going to chuck a bunch of sea lanterns in that gap. Then we're going to use a bunch of smooth quartz here, and from the center here we're going to start placing some blocks, and we're going to put a little logo on the bottom here, starting with the black terracotta and then some red concrete. You can probably guess what it is by now. Get some wool in here as well, a few nether bricks, and we'll just fill in the rest of the background here in white as well. Then we'll stick a layer of glass over the top, and the last thing to do here is just replace a bunch of these logs with some slabs instead. Oh yes, that looks awesome. I absolutely love that. So yes, it is of course a hardcore heart, and I think that just looks really cool. And in fact, from up the top there, it probably looks pretty good as well. Yep, can confirm that looks cool. So one last thing I want to do down here is just get a little bit more light at the top corners and whatnot. So let's just hang a few janky lanterns, and I want to add a few more leaves over here. And with that, I think this floor is now complete, at least for now. So with all this automated storage done, there's just one last last thing to do. I say one last thing, there's always going to be one last thing, but there's one more thing I want to do right now, and that is right at the top here in the matchbox. Because this is looking extremely empty right now, and in fact we can even fix some of these holes. We don't need the beacon holes anymore. But up here is where I'm going to be storing all of my overflow storage, which is just things that don't get sorted, such as the mob heads and so on. And I also want to send all the unstackable items up here too, as well as any excess shulker boxes that don't get stored in the bulk storage system. So what we need to do is work out how we're going to get the things from here up there. And I think what I'm going to do is work out where the storage is going to go and where I want the items to come up, and we'll just move them around under the floor until we get them in the right position. But I need to grab the right things for that, and thankfully we can use our automated storage now. Oh, this is so good. This is going to make my life much easier. So I've worked out there's going to be 6 sections we need up here of varying importance, and this is all of them. So we're going to have the shulkers that don't get stored into the bulk system down the bottom, as well as the unstackables from below and the potions, which we are actually going to separate from the unstackables. We then need somewhere for the overflow, which can probably just be 3 chests or so. We need a few chests for some rockets, and then we want a wall for all of our armor, tools, and weapons, which we're going to filter manually out of here. So that's basically it, and we've got lots and lots of space to do it in, and of course we need to make sure we have our drop chute and our drop-off point as well. So I'm going to start laying out a bunch of chests for different things and label them as I go, and hopefully this will give us a bit of a layout that we can work with. So I think something like this should work. So we're going to store all the unstackables over here. We'll have the potions here, and we've created little chutes here as well so we can actually pump the items where they're needed. All the overflow is going to come here, so that's anything that doesn't get sorted down below for whatever reason. And then we've also got an area here for any overflow shulkers. And once again, these have holes that go into the room below as well. Lastly, we have this area here for armor, which is where I'll just manually sort things for armor, tools, and items like that. And we also have an area for rockets. This is more just a dumping ground for me, so these two are not automatically sorted or anything like that, just somewhere for me to put things. And then that's going to leave plenty of space over here for the drop-off points, and also plenty of space for getting down into storage itself. So the next step is to add a whole bunch of hoppers onto the back of all of these. Right, that should just about do it. So I think the first thing I want to do is get everything sort of heading in the right direction down below. So I'm going to put in the tubes for the overflow, which we actually need to bring up all the way from the 4th floor down the bottom there. We need to bring up the shulkers from just down below, so that should be fairly straightforward. And then we need to sort out this side. But before we can do that, we actually need to build our potion sorter as well. So yeah, we'll start with these ones here, and then we'll build up to these. So that's the shulkers done. They're being fed up here now. And if we look from down below, we just have a lovely little pipe running across the ceiling. And that does mean I can remove these chests and bits now as well. So next up, we need to feed the overflow items into this hole here. And for that, well, where do we need to connect it to? Let's have a quick look, shall we? So this is where we just came down, and currently they are over here behind this wall, I believe. Let me quickly bust through. Yep, so they're currently there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed them back over this way, and we're going to go up pretty much where the shulkers do. We'll go next to it along here somewhere, and that should hopefully get us in a good position to feed them into the right place at the top. Well, it turns out we really don't have a lot of space around here, so what I'm going to do is actually feed this into the wall back here, and then we'll just go along that way. There we go, that should do nicely. So let's just get a few blocks in. And that's the overflow items done, which once again just has another pipe running along the back wall down here. So the next thing to do is to sort out the unstackable items. And for that, I need to kind of send them up a little bit higher. I need to put them through a potion sorter, and then we're going to put potions one side and unstackable items on the other. So I guess I'm going to need to grab myself a whole bunch of redstone. Potion sorter has been installed, and this will now send all the potions up this pipe here, and anything that's unstackable and not a potion will go up this one here. And up the top here, that means the potions go over here and the unstackables go over here. So with all the sorting complete, it's now time to make this place look nice, because currently it does not. think something like this works a lot better, and I've kind of lent into the whole matchbox thing. I've got some matches hanging from the ceiling just to sort of divide things up, and I've used bits of wood, which are supposed to represent bits of the match and so on, and we've also trodden a whole lot of dirt through here. And as the top of this box is open, I have put some grey glass over it as well, just so I don't get explodinated while I'm in here, because it's not particularly well lit up out there, let's be honest. But this should work quite nicely. We just need to get a few finishing touches in. I need to get some spruce trapdoors, and of course I need to get some frames so we can get these boxes labelled up. But we still have access to the lift down the back here as well. That'll get us between the different floors, and of course we still have access to our drop-off area here, which I'm going to make use of right now, I think. So let's just quickly get these trapdoors on, and we'll sort out some frames as well. And there we go, this room is now finished, and we've still got a couple of extra boxes here for, well, I don't even know what, let's be honest. But we have storage for our unstackables, represented by the minecart. We have our potions, which obviously is represented by a potion. And then we have this area here, which is of course for our overflow, and an area for all of our empty shulkers. And with this room done, I can finally say this storage, mega storage, massive thing is complete. So while we have a look at a really awesome cinematic of all the different areas of the storage, oh, look at that, look, doesn't that look marvelous? I have also done a bit of counting, and I've got some numbers. So there's actually 1,517 double chests in this storage system, not including what's in the matchbox. And with 3,456 items per chest, that means we can store 5.1 million items just on the first 3 floors. If we then also factor in the bulk storage, there's another 120 double chests, which can hold 6,480 shulkers, which is another 11.1 million items. So all in all, not even including the matchbox at the top, we can store over 16 million items in this storage unit, which is an absolutely crazy amount of storage, and hopefully means I won't need to make any more. Last episode, we completed our 16 million item auto-sorted storage for every item in the game, and today we're going to try and finish up our builds over here in the tiny big garden, which is going to involve a whole lot of landscaping. We've got all these trees in the background to chop down because they completely ruin the scale. We've got lots and lots of coarse dirt to place as well to get rid of all the tiny grass here. We need giant grass, and of course we need to place lots more grass and mushrooms, and maybe even get some flowers in too. And of course we finally need to tackle this portal because, well, that's just unsafe and looks disgusting. We also have something else we need to install down here underground below our storage, and that is opposite our bulk storage area, which is actually this corridor here, where we're going to be building a massive super smelter. And I know we do have a kind of furnace array over in our starting island, but we need something a little bit bigger. And now that we're storing everything over here as well, I think it makes sense to have a nice big smelter in place here. And lastly, we need to sort the interior of this room here because, well, this is just an absolute mess. So there's absolutely tons to do, and I think we're going to make a start on the landscaping first, which I guess means I should probably grab an axe or two and get chopping some trees. Removing all those trees makes so much difference. We just need to cover up the grass with some coarse dirt as well now. It appears I've missed one up there. And I've also got a few that I'm still standing on. But yeah, the majority of it has now gone. But I've got a whole bunch of coarse dirt and lots of grass to cover up. So let's get block placing. And about 10 stacks of coarse dirt later, that is looking so much better. And if we just quickly land and go into free cam, let's go here, and we can get a proper view of this now. And without all the trees in the background and having all this extra coarse dirt down, it really does make a huge, huge difference. Although we've only just scratched the surface here. What I need to do now is get a whole bunch more green dye. We need to make lots of concrete. We need to get some green terracotta, and we need to plant all the grass. And of course, we're going to add in some mushrooms and some other details and bits and bobs. I don't really know exactly what we're going to add, but there's going to be lots going in around here. And there is actually a massive space here. I think what I might do is actually make myself a bigger cactus farm here because, well, the one we have over on our starter base is fine, but it's very, very slow. So I guess I need to think of something to actually hide it in as well. But yeah, we'll give it some thought. I could even just do another Lego brick, maybe. Maybe one of those big ones that's like a 2x4, you know the ones. But I'll give that a little bit of thought. And we also need to try and come up with an idea to sort of put a boundary on this place. We could build like a bit of a garden wall or a rockery or something like that around the back here. I mean, either way, it's going to take a lot of blocks. But we do have a buttload of stone at the moment, so I don't know, maybe we'll come up with something. But I think I'm going to make a start with the green dye that I do have. We're going to get some more bits of grass down, especially around the back of the matchbox here, because we know that there's not space to actually build anything over there, and then we'll figure out what to do about this cactus farm. Actually, no, scrap that. If I'm going to be in the area, it makes sense to make the cactus farm first, doesn't it? Because then we're actually going to have enough green dye to be able to do all the grass. Sometimes I can use my brain. So I just need to decide what to hide it in, and to be honest with you, I think for size and shape and so on, another big Lego brick here might actually be the way to go. Just to pick a different colour. And I'm thinking a nice big red-yellow brick is going to require a lot more red concrete than that. Yep, definitely. Okay. But I'm pretty sure I'm out of gravel as well because we've used it all for coarse dirt. Yep, we literally have one piece. So we're going to have to go grab some resources, get some gravel together. And once we've got some red concrete, we'll make a start on that Lego brick. So one thing I haven't actually found in this world yet is a proper gravelly biome. So what I've actually been doing is going over this way to the ocean and literally just digging up the ocean floor, which is not the best way to collect gravel because it's an absolute pain to collect it all off the surface. But it's my only choice for now. We're going to have to come up with something renewable for this at some point. Gravel is sorted, so let's grab some sand as well. And a bunch of red dye. Turn all of that into red concrete. And it looks like a zombie's taken out my door. Dang it. So let's be smart about it this time. Let's place the door closed, make it open like that, and then put the blocks on top. And now the zombie's going to see that as open and won't attack it. But anyway, let's make some concrete. There's one very basic looking Lego cube, and to be honest, I think it looks a little bit tall. So what I could do is cut the top off, lower it down, and make it look a little bit better. However, instead I think I'm actually just going to raise the ground around it a little bit because, well, it doesn't really slope very well anyway. Although in saying that, I don't have the coarse dirt and I've got no gravel either. So, fine. Let's take the top off and lower it down. Classic Beardstone, building things more than once. There we go, that looks much better. I mean, it's still just a big red box, but at least it looks proportionally correct for a Lego brick. Let's see if we can add a bit of texture. Certainly coming along nicely. I did try a few other different blocks for textures as well, but they just didn't really work. And you may have noticed I've also put in the cactus farm here, which, as you can see, is working just fine. One slight problem though, we have nowhere to store it currently, so that's what I'm going to work on next. So I just need to put a tube in here, and we'll stick a bunch of chests down here. And of course, we're going to need a bunch of hoppers in the back of these. Just what this area needs, more hoppers. There we go, something as simple as that will start storing all of our cactus up for us as it comes through the system. So, well, we do need to sort out the rest of the interior of this place. It's not exactly looking good, is it? However, what I want to do first is work a little bit more on the outside, because although we've got the Lego brick in, and it does add a nice splash of colour to the area, it just sticks out from the landscape a little bit too much right now. So we need to... Oh, wait a minute, we're going to need the green dye first, aren't we? Well, I guess I'm going AFK for a little bit till we get some green dye. But then once we do have a little bit more and whatever else I can scrounge from storage, we'll see if we can get this sort of buried in the garden like everything else. And of course, finish off lots of landscaping around the surrounding areas. Well, as you can probably tell by the state of my tools, I wasn't particularly AFK during that AFK session. I've done a couple of things. The first one is just to make this area look a little bit more presentable. It is literally nothing fancy whatsoever, but look at all this cactus that's come through, which is marvellous. But also, while we were still waiting for more cactus, it did occur to me that we're also going to need to cook it in order to make the dye. So, well, it made sense to make a start on the furnace. So if we go all the way to the bottom here, nothing terrifying about that, ever. I've actually dug out this area here now, as you can see in this really quick time-lapse. And that gives us plenty of space to build a big furnace array. And I think what I want to do is actually build 2 separate furnace arrays because of how long things take to actually sort of go round and fill up the furnaces and so on. To maintain efficiency, we're going to have 2 super smelters, one on each side, each with 32 furnaces in. That way I can just run one if I only need to smelt a small amount of stuff, but if I need to smelt more, I've got access to both. So I'm going to quickly get rid of this beacon just to clear it up. I like being able to see the logo on the floor here, and then we're going to grab a bunch of furnaces, a bunch of hoppers, just what this place needs. We're adding even more hoppers, what do we like? But then we can crack on with this super smelter while even more cactus grows upstairs, and then hopefully by the time this is done, we'll have all the green dye we could possibly need to get the upstairs finished. Or the surface, I should say. It's not really upstairs, is it? It's miles away. So I'm just starting to figure out how this is going to work and how it's going to look, and I think once everything's cooked, I'm just going to run a water stream under the floor, and that's where we're going to have that going. But you may notice I said I was putting in 32 furnaces, and there's only a row of 16 there, and I think what I'm actually going to do is just double it up so it goes round in a circle. So you'll only visually see 16, but there'll be another 16 behind. Let's see if we can get this worked out. So layout-wise, that should work. These top ones here are going to, of course, feed the furnaces with what we want to smelt, and what we need to do is just add a little loop here for the track to go round. That should be perfect. And then this one here is for the fuel, and once again, we want to be able to loop the track back round in this direction. We'll figure out this side shortly on how this is going to go, because, of course, we need to make sure we put in some loading points. Then down below, we've split this in 2, so as you can see here, the arrows are going in different directions. So we have 16 hoppers that are feeding into this dropper, and the same on the other side. And then they're going to split the goods down here into a water stream, which will then get collected over here. So fairly straightforward. We just need to add all the rail and then get this thing hidden. I think that's looking pretty good. That should do the trick on the front, and on the back side we've got all the rail in over there. We just now need to figure out how we're actually going to load up the system. So let's see what we can do. First things first, let's build out a frame. So 4 blocks or so should probably be enough. And then what we could do is have one load there and one load here. So if we assume the bottom one's going to be fuel, we need to link this up to this area here and make sure that the rails can actually turn and all that jazz. So let's see, we're going to have to go this way. Then we should be able to get away with putting in a corner. And then can we do that? That looks like it's linked up just fine. In fact, I'm going to lower this down a little bit, and that should give some room for the bits at the top here. So if we do something a bit more like this, there we go, that should be good. And what we want to do is we want the cart to go round, and then we want it to come back and then go back down here. And we want this bit here to be as short as possible, so if it's still loading, it can literally just bounce and go round again and so on until it's empty. And for that, I think what we need to do is get some of these, do something like this, and I wonder, can we trick the track into turning? There we go, that should work a treat. Look, they'll come down there and then drop straight back down the bottom here. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Right, so this one here, this is going to be a bit more interesting. We're going to need some space for the cart to get down, because this, I think, is going to have to raise up almost immediately, although we can make a little bit more space here. There's going to be lots of rail shuffling here. I'll bring you back in once it's working. So I think I've got this all worked out. We're just going to run a little test here and see how it goes. So we'll put a couple of these carts on here. We'll test this one first to make sure it comes back, which it doesn't appear it does. So where have we messed up? Right, we've actually just forgot to add the additional power we need. Clever Beardy. Right, there we go. Now it should hopefully return. Nope, it's getting wedged. Right, okay, so there's not quite enough headroom for it here, but I reckon if we replace that block there with a stair, that should solve that problem. Oh no, it's actually this one here that's blocking it. I see. Okay, a trapdoor? Trapdoor should work. So if we put a trapdoor in this space here, and that looks like it's working. Perfect. Okay, so we can turn that one off. Now let's try the top one, and we might have a similar problem around here somewhere. Yep, we have the exact same problem here as expected, so I guess if we just remove that slab. All right, excellent. That is working an absolute treat. So now we've got the core furnace working, we just need to do the same thing over here. Well, that didn't take too long at all, and that's looking pretty good. I think we've got a good balance here, although I do need to add another minecart up there. Let's quickly do that. Do I have it on me? I do. Here it is. Right, let's just make sure that one's working as well, which I believe it is, but we should double check things. Perfect. Right, so what we need to do now, I have got all the water in, but we need to actually put in the proper collection system. So let's grab myself a bit of glass and some soul sand, and this should be fairly straightforward. We're just going to put a bubble vator in here, and I think we'll just put a double chest here because we can only load a chest full of items in each one anyway, so this is the max it would ever need, with a couple of hoppers in the back. Then if we just fill this thing up with ice, that should just about do it. And that is our collection system sorted, so everything's just going to fly through here, go up and across, and drop down into this chest. Now we just need to actually decorate the rest of the room, and for that, I don't know what we're going to do. Let's grab some blackstone. I called it blackstone again, it's deep slate. And a short while later, we've got this place looking a lot nicer. We've just got a pile of coal over here, and we've actually got some storage here as well for extra bits if we need them. There's a big old furnace at the back that does absolutely nothing but look cool. And we've got just a nice dark oak ceiling with some lanterns and stuff, a few bars here and there. But overall, I'm really pleased with how this has come out, but most importantly, it's going to be able to cook the things we need. But in order to do that, we're going to need fuel. And for now, I do have lots and lots of coal, so let's go grab that. In fact, it's over here. Look at that, there's loads of it, although my inventory's full of rubbish. There we go, much better. We've got an inventory full of the stuff, so I think it's probably going to be easiest for us to go up onto the surface, make a big pillar and break all this down. And we're going to use this coal in the furnace for now. And of course, we do have our kelp farm and lots of blocks of kelp we can use. But eventually, I think we might use one of these sections here to create a fuel farm. But for now, let's get this coal in the system and chuck in lots and lots of cactus. I wonder how much we've got now. Oh, look at that. We've got loads of the stuff. Excellent. So I've now got a load of coal, I've got a load of cactus, we're going to dump this in the system and get this stuff cooking. This is what it's all been about. And then finally, we can go back up to the surface and actually start getting it finished. So they're all loaded up, let's turn them on and watch them go. Right, okay, there's something in there that shouldn't be. And look at that, we have the dye coming through. I did actually put some glass down here over the water tube so we could see it all moving around, but it just looked rubbish. So, yeah, we got rid of that in the end. But at least we can see it all coming through, and that is nice and fast. Look at that. Although it has just occurred to me, this is coming through faster probably than the hoppers can actually pick up. Yep, look at that. That is crazy. So what we need to do is actually add a bit of water there, and that should use both hoppers now. So if this one does start to get overloaded, at least it will use the secondary one. Yep, that's coming through much quicker. Excellent. So now we've got the dye cooking up, there's something else we need to do, because although we do have some in here, some of the greens, we actually don't have any plain terracotta at all. Well, we've got 63, but that's not enough. So we're going to have to go dig up a little bit more terracotta to make sure we've got enough to do the whole garden. So I'm going to gather what I need, and when we come back, we can crack on with the surface. Well, we've made some really good progress over this side. It's looking nice and busy. But next up, I think we're going to try and tackle the portal. Jeez, this is taking so long, but hopefully it's all going to be worth it. Let's crack on, I guess. I think we can all agree that's more than enough time-lapsing for one episode. But if I jump into free cam here, look at all the progress we've made. We've literally doubled the size of this area, I'd say. And not only that, we've terraformed the majority of it. Although I have completely run out of the bits I need now. I've got no more terracotta, I've got no more green wool. And you may notice it gets a little bit more sparse over here, and there's absolutely no wool on this side whatsoever. But overall, I'm really pleased with how this is coming out. It does look really, really, really nice. And I think it's starting to sell the effect a bit more, especially without all those trees in the background. But not only that, we've also sorted out our portal down here. I've just made it like a little ant hole, essentially, so nothing too pretty, nothing too major, but at least it does the job. It hides the portal nicely, and I think it blends into the landscape perfectly. I've also experimented with a couple of different flowers. There's one there, there's one here, and a couple of different mushroom styles as well. But as I say, for now, I've pretty much just run out of resources, so I can't actually do the last few bits that need doing, which is pretty much just down the front there. But I guess we're going to have to save the finishing touches for the next episode. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye now. Over the last few months, we took an empty valley and converted it into a tiny big garden with not just any storage, but quite possibly the biggest storage system I've ever built, which stores every single item in the game. But not only that, we've also added a squid farm, a villager trading hall, some other flower farms, and even a cactus farm. And having spent a huge amount of time last episode building out the exterior and making it all look pretty and nice, I think I may have killed my graphics card. Whoopsie daisy! So I'm actually down to 1 monitor now from my usual 3, and it's making life very difficult, if I'm perfectly honest. And you may notice it's also looking a little bit more framey round here than usual, which, you know, fair enough. There's going to be some frames because of all the hoppers we've got downstairs, but it's definitely got a lot worse. So that does present me with a slight problem, because today we were going to start on our next massive project. However, there's something else I think we're going to do. But for that, we need to go back to our starter island. Ignore all the hearts I'm missing. Nothing happened then, honest. Still absolutely love this place, but what we're doing over here is way back at the start of the season, there was a village here, and I said, I seem to remember it quite clearly, I was going to do a village transformation, and what I did was basically just blow it up and get it out of the way. So with the problems I'm having with the graphics card at the moment, my thinking is, let's go do a village transformation elsewhere. And I think I know the perfect village, which is just over this way. And if I remember correctly, just over here, yep, there it is. There's a lovely spruce village on this hillside. And this is actually where we found the pink sheep. In fact, we found the pink sheep just on the top there. But what I want to do is to rip out this village and transform it. I want to improve how it looks. I want to make some new buildings, and I want to make just a nice looking area with the hope that my graphics card can handle this, because there's literally nothing over here. There's no farms, it's just a few villagers, and maybe we can still get a video out. So it appears I've just flown all the way over here and my wings are about to break, and I've also got all the stuff from the garden, so I didn't really plan that very well, did I? And it's nighttime again. Don't record at night, Beardy, that's how bad things happen. And on a bright new morning we can actually see the village itself. So if we have a look at this, there's only sort of 5, maybe 6 buildings here, and it doesn't really extend up the hill. The paths do, some of the farms do, but the actual buildings themselves do not. But I think this will be an amazing location for a village, which is going to serve us absolutely no purpose. It's just something I've always wanted to do. And to be fair, although I have done it in the past, I've only done it on a much smaller scale. So what I think we're going to need to do is do some tree clearing. There's a lot of trees in the way here, so we're going to need to remove all of these trees in this area. And of course, we're going to need to destroy the buildings there, lay out the rest of the village and how we're actually going to do it now. But before we do any of that, we need to actually gather some resources, because I don't really have any of the materials I need to build this village. So this is roughly what I'm going to need, and I've got farms for some of it, but other bits of it I'm going to have to go digging, I think. And I don't think I'm going to make it home on these wings, so let's stay above the water, shall we? Yep, I made it about another 20 meters. Perfect. Let's swim then. Haven't done this in a while. So first up, let's quickly fix our wings. Wings are fixed, so let's quickly head back to storage, drop off all of this junk we've got on us, and pick up a whole bunch of empty shulkers, because we've got a whole lot of resource gathering to do. I've got good news and I've got bad news. The good news is we have everything we now need in order to... See, it's still loading in there. Jeez. Yeah, that'll bring me on to the bad news in a minute. But the good news, yes, we do have everything we need in order to transform this village, although we still haven't actually cleared the area yet, so I've still got some chopping to do over there. However, the bad news is my graphics card has actually completely packed in now, so I'm on my old machine, which I've not used in about 3 years, and it's a bit of a potato. So I've pulled the render distance right down to try and reduce any frame laggy issues, because it's going to be a couple of weeks, sadly, until the other PC is fixed. So that means I can't really visit my storage, because that's probably going to blow this thing up. But that's enough waffle, it's time to go chop some trees down and deal with the frame lagginess. Look at that. Ugh, horrible. I'll just try not to move around too much this video. Trees are now gone, we can see what space we're working with. However, I do still need to remove these houses, and the weather has turned. That really helps the frame rate, thanks Minecraft. In fact, one moment. There we go. It's still raining, but we don't have the rain particles anymore. Maybe that'll help a tiny bit. Right, so what we need to do now is remove these houses up here. We need to sort out the land a little bit, and we need to plan where we're going to put our own builds. In fact, I think one thing I should do is maybe stick a platform up in the sky so I can actually see what's going on a bit better. Or, in fact, on second thoughts, I can just use free cam. I completely forgot about this. Right, so what are we working with? We've got like a few different levels here where we can put some buildings. So if we would have a few down here by the coast, we've got plenty of space here for one, maybe one here. We'll have some paths going up to the top of a hill, as well as 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 or 5 buildings up the hill as well. And in theory, that should work quite nicely. But the first thing we need to do is put these villagers somewhere safe, and then we need to destroy their houses. So I guess I should make them a little safe cave somewhere. In fact, I think maybe this little cave here will be just fine. If we stick some lights in here, we block up the water, they can go live in there while we do the build, and then we can set them free at the end, and they can just enjoy their lovely new village. Right, let's get some boats and get to work. Ah! Get away from it, I just want some coal! Sneaky blighter. So let's just light this up a little bit. Let's make it safe. We'll just block off the back for now. And I guess an easy way to get them all in here will be to steal their beds. Yeah, that seems like a good idea. Let's steal all their beds and hopefully they'll make their way down there. Our villagers are safely stored away in there. Now we can get on the destruction of their actual village. How's that for some progress? I've laid out where some of the buildings are going to go, I've flattened out a lot of the terrain, I've got rid of all the existing paths, although I have left the top clear for now. And if we jump back into our body, which is over there somewhere, and we can take a closer, if not a little bit framey look. So I've got a bunch of just normal houses down the front here along the coast. It's going to be a bit of a fishing village. We are going to replant, or I say maybe even try and make some custom spruce trees all around the area as well. But it's going to be essentially a spruce fishing village. So we've got a bunch of small houses down the front here and a couple more at the back there. Over this side here, we've got a stable, and we basically want to have somewhere for people who ride into town to store their horses. And I want to get rid of all this sand because that's really not working for me. On the next level up, we're going to have a blacksmith here, we're going to have a librarian at the top, we're going to have another house here, maybe 1 or 2 on the way up the hill as well. And for now, I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to put at the top. It's screaming out for a castle, but I really don't know. But if we do go that route, it certainly won't be done today. For now, though, what I do want to do is actually get some of these buildings in. I've got an idea in mind of how they're going to look, and we're going to try and carry that style throughout all of the buildings. In fact, these ones down here are probably going to be the same, or similar at least, because we want to make sure we have a nice, coherent village. So let's grab some blocks, and these frames are absolutely killing me. It's horrible. Once again, I'm so sorry about that. Hopefully for next video, it'll actually be okay once I get the new Uber PC. But for now, let's grab some stuff. In fact, I need to empty my inventory. Let's just grab all the bits and bobs, and we'll see if we can get the first one of these builds together. And in fact, what with it being a fishing village, maybe this one here at the front will make sense to be the first one. That's going to be kind of our main fishing house. It's going to have a dock coming off the front. Oh, it's going to be lovely. And while we build this, we're going to talk over the top of it. And it's nothing to do with the fact that I didn't hit record when I was recording all this in first person a moment ago. So the first step was to block out the building. I just put in a rough shape of something I thought it could look like. And then on the inside, I put down a little bit of a floor so I had something to work on for the front door. I then moved on to building the roof, for which we used a lovely prismarine colour. I thought this would fit in nicely with the spruce trees once we eventually get them in. Happy with how it was coming along, I decided the roof was a little bit bland, so we stuck one of those big sticky outy bits on the top. You know, it's got a proper name, but I don't know what it is, and to be honest, I'm not going to go on Google and look it up because I can't be bothered. We also added a chimney stack behind it and added a little bit of detail with a different wall colour for the top bit. I then spent a while going around and doing some texturing. We used a little bit of tuff, we used some mossy cobble, some cobble and some andesite on the stone walls to get them all looking nice, and then on the roof we used a combination of warped wood, warped planks, and of course, everyone's favourite, the leaves. And there we have it, one basic looking house. And the interior, of course, is still going to need a whole load of work. We need to make sure we get the floor in and do all the good things. In fact, we're probably going to need to lower it on this side because that is a very low ceiling. But we'll worry about that later. So this is the basic kind of house I think that we're going to have. So we're going to have a few of these dotted around, but we're also going to be customizing them a bit. So for example, this one here is going to be our main fishing house. So we're actually going to convert the front here, I think, into a great big dock and maybe even link link it up to this one as well and have a secondary fishing house? Who knows? But either way, I do like the way that's come out, and I think once we get some variations of that around the area, this is going to look quite nice. So I guess that's probably my next task, isn't it? Maybe we should get a couple more of these down and maybe get some customization in on this one as well. Well, it's a short while later and I've made a little bit more progress. I've managed to get another couple of houses in, still no interiors, but well, you know, that's how I roll. But we've managed to get a couple of houses in down here on the coast, make this area look a little bit busier, and we made a start on where the path's going to go. And out the front of the very first house we built, I've put in a fishing dock and a small little boating dock type thing, and I really do actually like the way these houses are coming together, but there is a slight problem. And although they're rotated round, they are three of the exact same buildings. So what we want to do now is actually mix it up a little bit. So I think we're going to go over here and build a stable using a similar sort of style. Let's see what we can pull off. So I think I'm happy with the basic shape we've got going on here. I did actually start off with the core of one of these, so it's quite a basic shape at the start here. And then I've just kind of added this stable bit on the side with a nice little outdoor bit for the horses as well. And of course, we will decorate this to make it all look nicey. And we need to do lots and lots of texturing. And these frames are driving me absolutely mad, or lack of frames, I should say. But we'll push on through it. It's absolutely fine. What I need to do now is to get some texture on this thing. I need to actually make it look more like a horse stable as opposed to just a random pen, and I need to eat something because I can't even move at the moment. Well, I think with the extra detail that has come out really well. I'm actually very pleased with this. It's all done apart from the fact I don't actually have any horses, and there's a bit of a problem with that in that I don't actually have any saddles either. So yeah, once we get this built, we may need to do a little bit of fishing, get some saddles, and go catch ourselves some, that's grass in the way, and go catch ourselves some horses. You may notice I've also got rid of all the sand over here. It's still growing over a little bit, but I've just sort of extended the natural spruce forest. What is that? That is just the worst generated tree ever. Right, let's remove this one. But what I've done is basically just extend the forest into the village a little bit more, and then we're going to put some custom trees on the edge here. But not right now, because now I think it's time to add another building. And I think what I want to do is just put another one of the small houses here, and then we're going to do something a little bit different on this platform up here. Is looking awesome. I'm loving how that's coming together. And when we look at the village as a whole, it's really starting to get its own little style going on. I've also started marking out where some of the custom trees are going to go, but we've got a few more buildings to get down, so let's crack on. Got a bit carried away. We've added 6 buildings during that time lapse, but we still need one more up on this hill here. Should probably add some trees as well. I may have got a little bit carried away here. What can I say? Editing takes ages on this PC, so I think I've just been ignoring it a little bit. So yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun to sort out. But look at what we've done. So I'm actually going to jump into free cam here so we can have a proper look. In fact, the sun's going down, so maybe let's not do that just yet. Let's go to bed first. Oh yeah, and I broke my wings too. So yeah, we're gonna have to swim. So on this bright new morning, let's do a little walking tour of what I've done. So as I said, I did get a little bit carried away. As you can see, we've got buildings absolutely everywhere. We've got trees everywhere, but it is looking a lot better. So at the entrance here, we have our horseless stable, which, well, none of the buildings have an interior yet, but I have at least put in the floors and the ceilings and got them all already, but we'll probably actually sort out the interiors next episode. However, as we carry on through the village, we've got scattered trees, we've got a basic path down here. Once again, as I say, we do have floors in all these little buildings. We have a couple of smaller houses, and then we have our fishing house, and we no longer have a piece of tall grass there. As we carry on through, there's another small house here, and then up here on the right, we have first one of our larger houses. So if we quickly jump into free cam and have a look at this one, it's still following the same sort of style and pattern as these ones, but it's got a couple more floors and a little bit more going on, and adds a nice bit of variation to the skyline. I also really love how the deep slate here kind of makes the roofs of the lower buildings pop as well, so we might end up with a little bit more deep slate around and about, but it really does work well. But back to the tour. Down here we have another small house, and then across the way we have our blacksmith, which, did I put the anvil down? I did put the anvil down. But yes, once again, we do still need a little bit more decoration and things going on with some of these, a few more of the finer details, and the floors are all ready to go, just a little bit bare. And then we have these stairs that take us up to the top here to another basic house, and then we have a walkway that goes all the way over to the Elder's house with a lovely flag flying on the top, and I really love the approach to this building actually as you walk along this path, and it also gives you a really nice view of the village. So that's where we're at so far, and overall I think it's looking pretty awesome. We do, as I say, have a lot more trees to put down. Definitely better than the village that was here before. And of course, we need to figure out what we want to put on the top, which is looking more and more likely it's going to be a castle or fortress of some kind. But that's going to have to do for today, sadly, because I've got a whole load of editing to do that I'm really not looking forward to. And hopefully, we can get this whole build finished up in the next episode. And yep, okay, my wings are broken. I'm glad I only jumped off a small ledge there. Jeez. About 3 weeks ago, my graphics card blew up, which I'm sure was nothing to do with this storage system. So we ran away to an untouched area of the world and started building a village. And you may notice, look at this. I have all the frames, like literally all the frames, all the new stuff is here. We are doing wonderful. And I can actually record again, which is nice. But thanks for sticking with me through all my computer troubles. It turns out it was actually more than just the graphics card in the end as well. Pretty much the whole thing has been replaced. But let's not dwell about that, because it has been a good few weeks since the last hardcore episode. And one of the big discussions we were having was around this top area here. What were we going to do with it? Are we going to put a castle on here? Are we going to put an abbey or a church or just a great big mansion? And I have come to absolutely no decision just yet. Yes, I've had 3 weeks to think about it, and no, I have not decided yet. But that doesn't mean we can't still crack on, because I've got a lot of interiors to sort out around here, and as you may know, if you've ever seen any of my other series before, I tend to skip interiors quite often, mainly because they're quite tedious. But I think I really do actually want to make sure that this is a fully fledged village with full interiors in all the buildings. And of course, I still need to build a whole lot more trees. And in fact, I think that's where I might begin. So while I ponder what we're going to put at the top of the hill there, I think I'm going to cram some more trees in. I definitely want to cover this hillside here and make sure all of this blends in a little bit nicer. And then hopefully by then, I'll have a plan for up the top here. So let's go build some trees. But we're making some progress. It's definitely looking a lot denser over there, and I've also put a little bit of bone meal and a few rocks and things in the floor as well, as you can see, and I think that's really coming together nicely. It's definitely making that hillside look a bit better. But sadly, I've run out of spruce leaves, so we're just going to pop over here. We're going to grab a few leaves, grab some more tree stem things. What are they called? Logs, that's the one. Tree stems? What am I talking about? So yeah, we're going to grab some logs, we're going to grab some leaves, and then we're going to get a few more trees down on that hillside. And I might even talk you through how I'm actually doing them, because I'm not a fan of building trees in Minecraft. I've always struggled with them. I tend to avoid it quite a lot. But, well, these ones seem to be working, I guess. Probably because there's a lot of them in one area. But we'll have a little closer look, and I'll show you what I'm doing to get these down nice and quickly. Right, we've got a bunch of leaves. Let's build some trees. And if you're like me, you don't really like building trees in Minecraft because you're not very good at them. But also, you don't like the standard trees like the ones behind me because they just look a bit naff. Yes, I used the word naff. I'm old. But with these trees here, they're fairly simple to build. They only take about 10 minutes each. And although not perfect, and especially if you actually just look at one of them on its own, they're a little bit janky, but when you've got loads of them together like this, they kind of blend in and we can get away with it. And we only need a few things to get these down. So the first thing I've been doing is just making a small square like this and sort of varying the heights of this bit as we go up. So you end up with, not that, something a little bit like this. So it just gradually gets thinner as it goes up. And then in some of them, I've been putting in a little kink as well, because why not? And then we use these slabs here, the dark oak slabs, just to cover up these tops. Once you've got a reasonable number of logs down, depending how tall you want your tree, I then switch to using fences, usually somewhere between 4 and 6 of those, and then we just have a few leaves on top. And occasionally, I do put a fence on top as well. The next step is then just to grab your fences and start putting in where you want some of the branches. On these bigger ones here, you can even get away with using a couple of logs on the very bottom here, just to kind of start off the branches. But generally, I tend to stick to the fences here. Because this is a spruce, I do generally try to sort of have them arching downwards as well in these places, especially at the bottom, coming out maybe 2 or 3 blocks from the trunk itself. And going to bed to make sure it's daylight is always a good plan too. So let's get a few more of these in for now, and then we can start adding a few leaves. In fact, that's probably a good starting point. So fairly basic at this stage, as you can see. Next up, I tend to put leaves on top of all of these, and then we'll kind of stretch these out and down a little bit. So generally what I try and do is leave some air gaps as well, because it kind of gives room for the trees to breathe. Otherwise they're going to end up looking like this. So this is always the hard bit, placing the leaves, because you want it to be kind of fairly random and bushy, but at the same time it does need to have some structure. That's where adding in the occasional extra fence post is also handy. So I've got the bottom layer of the tree in, and what we're going to do is essentially the same thing slightly higher up and slightly smaller. So now I need to crack out my fence posts again. We'll come out a couple in most places, and also vary the height as you go around the tree as well, because that's going to make it look a little bit more full, I think. Well, I mean, it seems to be working. And just to clarify, I am by no means a tree expert. In fact, I'm quite the opposite when it comes to Minecraft trees. So if you do have any tips and things that can help make this a little bit easier, how I can improve these, then please, please, please do let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, because this it really is something that I think makes a huge difference to builds, having custom trees. But yeah, always a pain to build. So we're just going to keep building the tree up like this. We're going to get in lots of sort of triangular type shaped branches, because, well, it is a spruce tree and that's what's going to work for this thing. And as I say, every now and then just sticking in another fence post as well, just to make it look a little bit more twiggy. And there we go, the next layer is on, and now we just repeat this the rest of the way up the tree. Once again, we'll just go a little bit thinner, so we'll probably only have sort of 1 fence post in most of these places now. And then once again, we'll just build out these branches a little bit. Okay, so we're pretty much at the top of the logs now, and on this bit here, what I tend to do is pretty much just put a few leaves, leave lots of gaps at the top here. They generally are a little bit spindly at this point. Then if we stand back and have a look at that, that looks okay at the top there. And if you look at the overall shape now, you just want to be looking out for bits where it looks particularly flat, or if there's anything that sticks out too far. And there we go, a very simple spruce tree, which, as I say, doesn't look particularly great on its own, but once you get a bunch of them together, it really is an improvement on the basic ones. Well, I think so, at least. But that's enough talk about trees. I think it's time we made a decision for up here, and I think I want to build a church. I don't think that this kind of little village here will warrant a castle up here. I think if we're going to build a castle, we can choose a much better location up in the mountains. However, it does definitely need something, so I'm thinking maybe a church that follows a similar kind of style to this, but will clearly be the biggest building in town. And having that sitting here on top of the hill, I mean, maybe on the top of it, I don't really know, but definitely at least up here, I think that's going to look quite good, especially if it's got some trees around it as well. What in the world? Well, that's new. Crazy llama. Anyway, so I've made my way back up the top here, and I'm trying to work out exactly where we're going to put this church. And I think this lower level here is going to be better than the top there. When I stood back and had a look, a little bit like this. Let's go all the way back here. So as you can see from here, I think if we had a church tower here with the church stretching out this way, I think that's going to look quite nice. And then we can have some trees up on this hill as well. Maybe even a nice waterfall running down will be marvelous. But for now, let's focus on laying out this church. I think I've put this tower a little bit too far over that way for now. So let's pull this maybe out to about here somewhere. And apparently I hate myself because I'm putting this on an angle as well. So this could turn out to be a complete mess and I might regret it. But we'll see how we get on. So if that's going to be the entrance tower at the front, I think what we want to do is work out the rest of the building. Maybe going out this way, 4 blocks, and then that way. Let's try the same on this side. I'm just going to have a little play around with a floor plan here. And once we've got something to look at, I'll bring you back in. So I think something around that size should work quite nicely. But what I want to make sure I'm doing is keeping with the kind of style that we've got down here, which is obviously lots of arches and arched roofs and curvy bits and wiggly bits, which is going to be an absolute pain to do on a diagonal. So, yeah, let's see how we go. So I think I'm roughly happy with how this is going so far. Let's have a little look from further away, but if we have a little munch as well so we don't die, yeah, I think that's going to work quite well up there. I mean, we're going to swap out this stone for probably some of the mushroom blocks and mud and stuff like that, but if we stand on this island over here, yeah, that's going to look perfect. I think that's just about the right size. We're going to see some of the roof here from the main part of the church, but most of the focus is going to be on this tower here. Excellent stuff. So let's swap out the stone of that tower for some packed mud for now. And then we should probably look at trying to get a roof on that weird thing. Oh, that's going to be an absolute pain doing a roof on this, isn't it? Well, for a first attempt, I'd say that's not actually come out too bad. I mean, it could do with like a little bit of a wall and then maybe a flag or something on top. But the overall shape of that, if we fly away and have a proper look, yeah, that's looking good. Let's get some texture on it. Minutes later, and that's looking much better already. We've just put some rough texture on, similar to what we've got in the rest of the village. Does still need some foliage though, and of course I've stuck a flag on top, which when we look at the village from a distance now, that really does make a huge statement. So I guess what we need to do now is to get some detail on this thing, specifically in the landscape around it, and of course I need to connect it up to the rest of the village here, and then I guess it's going to be back to more trees, isn't it? So before we get the last of the detailing, I think I do actually want to mark out the route this is going to take down the hill first. And I think it makes most sense to sort of go in this general direction, and then I don't know, maybe we could either swoop the path down or possibly even put some stairs in down here. Where are we trying to connect to? So I think I've got a rough route in, but it's going to need a fair amount of work to actually make it walkable. If we fly back, is that the route we definitely want to take? Yeah, I think that makes sense, and then we can get lots of trees and things on this hillside here. Go, that's looking better. We've got a path now that goes all the way up to the top. I still need to rough it up a little bit, get a little bit of oak mixed in, and of course we need to sort out all of the surrounding landscape because it's a little bit bland right now, and that means we need to add a bunch more trees. I kind of want to cover a lot of this hillside with the pine trees here, and I also want to make sure I'm getting some up on the top here as well, and probably even a few behind the church. And then, of course, we need to sort out the garden areas as well. So I think I'm going to start just with a few leaves. We're going to get this area looking a little bit nicer. We'll get some dirt and some coarse dirt as well. But mainly, it's going to be trees again, isn't it? Let's be honest. Lots more trees. I'm sick of building trees. But I think it's all been worth it. That's looking much better up there now. Look at the way that all just blends in together, and the houses are nicely hidden in the forest, and I think for the most part we're now done with the exterior of the village. And we can actually walk all the way from the entrance to the village here, which is sort of down by this forest, I guess. We can actually now walk all the way up to the top. We've still got a few issues that we need to sort out though. One is lighting. We've got lighting in a reasonable amount of spots. However, if we're going to be releasing these villagers, then we need to make sure that this place is actually safe, because currently in the hills here where the trees are, that's where we seem to be getting quite a few problems with skeletons and creepers and whatnot. So I've had to fly away quite a lot just to unload the area because I can't be bothered to hunt them all down. But if we go up this way here, look at this, look, we get lovely views over the village as well as we go, with all the smoke coming from the chimneys. Oh, it's wonderful. Still has absolutely no purpose though, this village, does it? But if we now head all the way up here, you can see I've got this path finished with all the trees. You can see the church peeking at the top, and as you get to the top, it's nice and simple, a little bit overgrown like the rest of the village, but I think this is looking good. I'm not going to open that door because there's obviously a full interior in... Oh, you can see through the window. Dang it. Okay. So, interiors. This is the last thing that I want to do. And these little houses down here, if we have a little look, these ones shouldn't be too bad. They're fairly small. We can just divide them up a little bit. Maybe get like a bedroom and a kitchen and maybe even a little sort of entrance hall / chilling area in each one. These should be fairly straightforward. But it's these bigger ones up here that are definitely going to take a little bit longer, because in most of them we've actually got sort of 3 floors. So yeah, lots to be done in here, but I guess that just means we can divide up the house a little bit bigger, have a little bit more room, but that is going to mean we need a lot more things to put in these houses. So what I need to do is dump all this stuff away for now, and then I guess we're gonna have to head back to storage and see what we can rustle up to build some interiors with. So the main thing that I want to get for these interiors is going to be bookshelves. We want a whole bunch of bookshelves because, well, every house is gonna have at least one, but one of the buildings in particular is going to be a library. It's gonna have lots and lots of bookshelves. So my thinking is if we head this way back towards our starter island, which is only about 500 blocks or so from that new village we've just built, just beyond that we do have our stronghold. And I've not really looted it properly yet, so I'm hoping that there's going to be a library in there that we can just steal all the books from. But there's only one way to find out, and I guess I should probably... yeah, I should probably grab some torches before we go as well. So we're in. Let's go have a look around, see if we can find ourselves a library. Oh, look at that. In fact, there was a library here, and it appears we've already been here. We just didn't loot it last time. But hopefully this will be more than enough bookshelves, although it's probably worth exploring the rest of the stronghold, I guess, just in case there's more lurking around. There could be another library after all. Well, not bad. We got just over 3.5 stacks from the first library. Let's see if we can find ourselves another one. Hello. Yes! Oh, amazing. We have a second library. More bookshelves. Give them to me. There we go. That's the second library cleared, and we now have all the bookshelves. Excellent. So I've got all my bookshelves, I've got a bunch of spruce and other woods, I've got all sorts going on here, and I should hopefully have everything I need to actually start sorting out these interiors. So with these small ones here, I might come up with something kind of generic that we can then use in all of the small ones, but we'll see. So let's have a little play around and see what we can do. I think the first thing I want to do is swap out the floor, because we're going to be using spruce trapdoors, I think, as wall dividers, so we don't really want a spruce floor as well, otherwise it's all just going to blend into one, and that's certainly not what we want. So I think what we're going to do is go for a checkered oak floor. I do love how this looks. Much better. Now let's see if we can get this divided up. So I think that's going to do for the walls. We're going to have a bedroom in here and a sort of storeroom area type here. And to be honest, I'm probably actually going to put a door on this side here so it goes through to the kitchen. That'll make a bit more sense. So what we need to do now is to build some kind of a kitchen here, and that should be fairly straightforward. There we go. I think that works quite well for a little kitchen. That's not too shabby. And I've also done the storeroom back here as well. Once again, just a few bits dumped around, nothing too special, but it should do the job nicely. Now to sort out the bedroom. So let's maybe put a shelf up the back here. We'll stick a lantern on there. And I think if we were to get some more flower pots as well, a little flower pot up there would look lovely. So for the bed itself, let's actually go get a bed. And then we'll put a lovely little bedside table in. And, well, that's actually looking quite cramped under there now, isn't it? Maybe we should rearrange this a little bit. There we go. That works better. Then what we'll do is we'll get a nice painting up in the hallway. Beautiful. We'll get a couple of plants down. And on this shelf, I think I'm actually going to put a llama head because, well, I have one, so why not? And I think the last thing it might need is potentially a little bit of colour on the floor. How's that gonna look? Perfect. Okay, so that's one interior done. Only another... oh god, this could take forever. Second one's done, and apparently I've decided not to do them all exactly the same. This one's got more of a lounge area out the front here, and then it's got the kitchen down the side, and a bedroom at the back. On to the next one. The third one is now done and looking good. Number 4 with another different layout. Love this bedroom. The fifth one looking a little bit brighter, and it has a lovely big room in here and a walk-in wardrobe, which is lovely. Number 6 is the first big building. This is actually a triple floor building, so we have a bit of storage on the second floor and a bedroom at the top. I've lost count, but we've got another small one here with a very weird layout, but I quite like it. And then we have another one of the big buildings complete now as well, which is looking pretty cool. Lots of open space in this one, but a tiny little bedroom at the top. And this is the last of the small buildings. Big open plan kitchen, which is lovely. A tiny little storeroom and a tasteful bedroom at the back here. I could be an estate agent. And I think we're now done with the last one. This is, of course, the librarian's house. There's lots and lots of reading books and nooks and all sorts going on here, and lots of stuff upstairs as well. And he's also got a tiny bedroom up there, but that's not not very interesting. So I think with that, we're basically done. We have done every single interior in this village. Let's just not talk about the church. Can we not talk about the church? Fine, let's talk about the church. So the church is the one building I haven't put an interior in, and that's because, well, we built this village because we needed to get away from all the places where we had built before because our graphics card was dying and we had no frames. So we came over here and we built this village with absolutely zero purpose. But the problem with building something that has no purpose means you basically end up with something that you're probably not very likely to come back and visit again. I think what we might actually do up here is make a proper villager trading hall. Not in this episode, of course, because we're already running quite long, but I think maybe putting a villager trading hall in here, we might have to dig down a bit to make some more space. And I think that might actually give a nice purpose to this area. But for the most part, I think we're pretty much done over here now, so I hope you have enjoyed the build. I've had a lot of fun over here, and as the sun sets, one last look at our village. Look at that. Absolutely love it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye now. I have created a mega shulker monster over here. Oh, my days. Last episode, we built ourselves a church on top of a hill, we built lots and lots of trees, and we did a whole bunch of interiors, and that resulted in this lovely, wonderful, completed village. But before you ask, yes, of course, the church is still empty. And although I want to put a villager trading hall in there, there's some other things we're going to have to do first, but instead of doing those things, such as making a gold farm and making sure we can actually afford to keep those villagers nice and cheap, well, I'm actually going to procrastinate instead. Because I do have a bit of a problem, and that is, well, this world as a whole. So over here we are at, where are we? Minus 550 by 840, and our base is at minus 50 by 1000, which doesn't sound that far away, and in fact I might have got those coordinates wrong. It might be minus 1000 by 50. Well, okay, yeah, I was completely wrong. Our starter island is at minus 30 by minus 800, so that's about twice as far as I thought it was going to be. But I guess that means we've got about 1600 blocks as the crow flies just to get to that new village, and I kind of want to make things a little bit more joined up. The thing is, if we go about 3000 blocks that way, that's where we get to our tiny epic little garden type thing where our storage is. And if we go that way, and say about 1600 blocks, that's the new village where the trading hall's going to be. And if we go about another 1500 blocks that way, we have our slime farm and then our guardian farm. So yeah, we're very spread out. And the solution is obvious. Build a nether hub. But here's the thing. I don't really want to build a nether hub, at least not yet, anyway. But I do want this world to feel a little bit more joined up, so we're going to tackle one of these issues today by building a path, and not just any path. It's going to be probably the biggest path I've ever built, and it's going to be starting around here somewhere, possibly over this side, or maybe even around the back here. We could put in a nice bridge across here, I guess. But what I want to do is build a path all the way to that new village. And that's going to need to go across all this coastline. It goes through some amazing scenery. We've got some epic cliff tops. We've got some mountains. But I think it's going to be a fun project because, well, we're going to have to deal with all kinds of different terrain, as you can see from me flying this little journey at the moment. So I think the biggest challenge of this path is probably going to be the sort of mountainous area here and this just epic coastline, because we want to make some really good use of it. We want to make sure that we're highlighting some cool viewpoints. But overall, I just want to have a really interesting path I can ride on my horse all around. And then that actually brings me to the other problem. I don't have a horse. In fact, I don't even have a saddle. So yeah, we're going to need to solve that one as well at some point today. But with this path, I don't want it to be a boring path. We're going to put some areas of interest along the way. What that might be, I don't really know. We're going to kind of see what the terrain lends itself to. But essentially, I want it to be a little mini experience, so you can take a horse from here, ride it to the other village, and see lots of cool sights along the way. Question is, where do I even begin? Well, I mean, I guess I could probably just begin out the back here. Is there somewhere I can loop a path around the side, maybe? Nope, we're literally right on the cliff edge over here. Okay then, so maybe we should start over the back here. We can extend this path down, and then we can put in another bridge over here. But I think the first thing I want to do is actually mark out the route that this path is going to take, because it's not going to be a straight line. We've got lots of coastline to follow, mountains to go through, and all sorts. I think the easiest way to mark this out is going to be to make use of our sheep over here, or our wool at least. So let's take a whole bunch of pink wool. That should stand out nicely. And then let's get to marking out this path. And while I'm doing that, I guess I can have a little think about the things we're going to put along the way as well. And ultimately, we're going to be building that massive bridge at the end to connect it to the final village on the other side. And I'm very much looking forward to that. So I guess I'm just going to start marking out a path, and I'll bring you back in and show you the route we're going to be taking once I've worked it out. And with that, I think I've marked out the entire route of the path. So if we do a quick flyby, so go out this way just to this little peninsula here, and then we're going to have a bridge going all the way across. And then if we go up nice and high, we should get a good layout of the path from up here, maybe. Yeah, we can kind of see where it's going. I've decided I'm going to pin a path to the outside of this cliff here, and then it swoops all the way round. And this is actually where spawn is. This is where we first spawned into the world. It was on one of these trees around here somewhere, so that's quite nice. Eventually we'll do something with world spawn, but then it goes all the way up here, goes up to the top of this mountain, and then there's like a little mountain pass that goes through here, which I thought could be a nice point of interest. And then we're out into the savannah. We go back down the side of the mountain, go through the grasslands over here with a view of the mesa, which is quite nice. And then lastly, this just swoops all the way back round to our starter island. So that is going to be the route we're going to take. However, we've got lots and lots of work to do before we can make too much more progress, and that mainly involves getting lots of spruce, because I'm going to need lots and lots of slabs and stairs and things like that. And as a base block palette, using spruce goes quite well with the path blocks, so I think that's a good place to start. But after all the trees we built in the last couple of episodes, I literally have no spruce left whatsoever. One of these days I'll build a tree farm for spruce, but for now let's just go chopping. Short while later, and I've got myself over a shulker of spruce, and I also went and grabbed a box of stone and some grass for our storage as well. And what I want to do is just get the basic layout of this path in. That's going to involve a whole lot of shoveling. We'll probably just put some stone walkways across where the bridges are going to be for now, but I want to make this whole path walkable, and that will hopefully get me in a good position where we can start working out where we want to put in extra details and where we want to build little outposts and things along the way. So let's just get ourselves a whole bunch of slabs and stairs, and, well, make a start, I guess. Hi there, fellas. You appear to be blocking my path. Didn't realise we were going to be going through bandit country. Jeez. Basic path is now in, and I severely underestimated the amount of bridges that were going to be required here. I knew there were going to be a couple, but it turns out there's actually this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this giant one here at the end. So we've got our work cut out for us, it would seem. And due to the fact we have so many bridges, I decided instead of going around the outside of this cliff, I've actually just gone through the mountain there. And I think this is going to be an amazing place for a build at some point in the future, so this should link it together a little bit more. And it means we've also got a tunnel we can work with instead of just bridges everywhere. So that means I've got 6 bridges and at least a couple of tunnels to decorate and get looking nice. And then after that, we can start thinking about other bits and areas of interest we can apply along the path. But first up is going to be bridges, and I think it makes sense for this one here to be similar to the one that we've got over there, as it is in the same area and attached to the same island. So hopefully this first one shouldn't be too difficult. But I don't have any of the correct resources, so back to storage we go. It's so nice to be here and actually have frames. Wonderful. So let's offload all this rubbish we've got at the moment and start from scratch. It's going to be much easier for us, I think. Oh, I want my food. Having used this storage for a couple of weeks, there are a few things I've noticed. One, our turtle has actually come alive and hatched, which I completely forgot that we put him in there. So yeah, that startled me when I saw him again. But also, we need to extend this area here because we're not actually sorting out doors, signs, and trapdoors, and buttons as well. And I think we can probably do that in here. But that's a job job for another day. For now, let's grab some bridge building things. It's actually been a couple of days since I recorded that last clip because, well, I had some stuff happen in real life that was completely unexpected and basically changes everything. And I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing at this stage. But let's take a flight back to our starter island, and while we do, I'll tell you what's up. And I guess it means you get to see the route I take every time I come to storage. But basically, some of you may know I actually work full-time. I'm not a full-time YouTuber by any means. I have a full-time job, or should I say I had a full-time job. Because sadly yesterday I got the news that I'm being made redundant, and that means a couple of things. One, I'm going to have a whole lot more time on my hands for a little while, and two, that means that maybe, just maybe, we can actually start streaming again. So I don't know what this means for the future, or I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find another job quickly or not. But in the meantime, that means I am, I guess, a full-time content creator, kind of unexpectedly. But that's the way things have gone, so that's what we're going to be doing. And I don't really know what that's going to mean in regards to the channel. Obviously, it means we can get some more hardcore episodes out a bit more regularly again, which will be nice. And of course, we can carry on with the TB stuff. But I've got a little bit of an itch to do a new series as well, but I don't know what on. So at the moment I am still digesting the information. It's, as I say, it's only been a couple of days, and during those 2 days I didn't really have it in me to record. I didn't really know where to sort of go or what to do with myself. I guess I was in a bit of a daze. But now the news has settled in, and I know for a fact that from the end of next month I will technically be unemployed. Well, we're just going to dive in and do some full-time content creation for a little while and see how that goes. And as I say, that's just going to result in more content. We can start streaming again, which means we'll probably be back over on Twitch. And in fact, I do plan on doing a stream later today to sort of break this news to everybody live as well, and have a little discussion about what sort of series we'd want to see on the channel. At the moment, I'm leaning towards potentially a Skyblock series because it's something I've not really done before. I mean, I've done some modded Minecraft series, some sort of mini-series and things like that, but I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you want to see. But anyway, enough waffle about my real life. We've still got some bridges to do, and we're now a couple of days behind, which means this video is going to be a bit late, so sorry about that. But sometimes life just throws you a curveball and you have to deal with it, really. And, well, I guess that's what we're going to be doing over the next couple of months. But back to the things that really matter. I do have all of the resources here ready for this sort of bridge area here, and hopefully some other bridges further along the path as well. We're going to mix up the designs a bit as we go. But as I say, this first one is going to be very reminiscent of the one we have on the other side. In fact, let's go take a quick look at that. So this looks like a fairly straightforward bridge. Obviously, it's going to be a bit taller on the other side, but it's mainly these top bits here, these sort of crenellations, I guess, that I want to copy on the other side. So let's just have a little ganders, and I think we should be absolutely fine with this. Well, the music's probably already started, so I should probably start building. Let's time-lapse this. So later, and the first bridge is done, and it's looking pretty good if I do say so myself. And I did do the backside as well, even though you didn't see that in the time lapse, but I think that ties in nicely with the area, and it looks fairly similar to the other bridge we have over here, so they kind of tie together nicely. But it's just a basic stone bridge with some mossy bits down by the water, and I do love how the leaves look like sort of algae floating on the water or gathered around the edge of the bridge as well. But with that done, I think it's time we grab our bits and bobs and head to the next bridge location, which I don't believe is too far away. In fact, it's just around the corner over here, so it's a very small one, this one. In fact, I might just do a small wooden bridge there, and it's started raining. Fantastic. That's going to look great on the video. So I think what I'm going to do is just build up the banks a little bit here, so the bridge starts around here and ends around here, and we're just going to put a little rope bridge in. I don't think it needs more than that, really. Well, it's maybe not my best work, but I think for the space we had to work with, that's come out quite well. And it doesn't look too bad from the side or below either. Although it could do with a river or something flowing through here, couldn't it? But that's bridge number 2 done. Let's go find the next. looks like the next one is this one here that goes across a canyon. And what are we going to do with this? Jeez, why are they all at an angle? I feel like I maybe want to make this one a little bit more solid, but we might do a wooden structured bridge here. So not a rope bridge, not a stone bridge, but just one made out of wood. Let's see how we get on. Bridge number 3 is now in place. That was fairly straightforward. I've just used some dark oak for the beams, and then I've just got kind of a spruce floor, and I've used trapdoors and some leaves on the side. And overall, I think that works quite nicely for this little bridge. So that's 3 out of 6 bridges done, and I believe the next one is actually just around the corner, and it's quite a big one. Yep, this is definitely going to be a big old bridge, this one. And I think what I want to do is put in a double arch. I want to have a nice big column in the middle here and just an arch each side. And as you can see, it is sloping up slightly as well, just to add a little bit of difference into this one and a bit more interest. Plus, it also just connects the land a lot better, let's be honest. And I think for this one, I might actually mix in something a little bit different. And that means I need to head back to storage and grab some deep slate. But I think I want to make this bridge a little bit darker than the others. I've arrived back safely with all the extra bits I'm going to need to do this bridge. We've got lots and lots of deep slate, and we've also got some tunnels here that we need to do as well, because this actually carries on, goes through this small tunnel here, and this actually leads into the big tunnel, which is around this corner, that goes all the way through the mountain. And we've also, of course, got the massive bridge at the end still to do, and a small one just after that. But the video's also getting quite long, so I think it's about time we had a mega time-lapse, and we're going to see how much of this we can get done before I need to get this video out. So that means I'm going to need a fresh cup of tea, and you're going to need some fresh tunes. So how about some cheesy trance with a little bit of sax? The music. I think we're actually done. It has been a long while since we've done a time-lapse anywhere near that long, so hopefully you did enjoy that, but we've done lots and lots of bridge building, and I'm so pleased that we now have a path that connects this village all the way back to our starter island. But let's have a quick look at the bridges, shall we? So this one here, fairly straightforward, quite a low one, nice and easy, and I put a grate on the front as well because a bit of a drop off on the other side there, and I don't want to be having any accidents. But this is a boring bridge. Let's go look at some of the bigger and better ones, shall we? And working our way backwards, we come across this giant bridge here. So this design, I have actually used something very similar before on season 3, I want to say, of Truly Bedrock. but I've basically just made it a lot bigger, a lot taller, and a little bit grander. But I think that does cross this gap really nicely. The only thing I was wondering is, like, could it do with some kind of a tower or a bit of structure on it somewhere else maybe? I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. But if we fly past this bridge and we fly off over into the mountains, you may have noticed we also managed to sort out our tunnel, which is, well, the entrance is just over there. And this tunnel is very, very busy. I probably should have held back a little bit more on this one, actually. It's maybe a little bit too much going on in here, but it looks a lot better than the boring tunnel it was to begin with. And then lastly, as we come out of the tunnel, we see this bridge here, which I think is my favorite. I really love how that's come out. In fact, let's jump down there and have a look from the side. But with the combination of deep slate, copper, and prismarine, I really think that works well. It is, of course, the weathered copper, but I love how this bridge looks, and the angle of it looks really nice as well. I think it just packs out that valley nicely. And with that, I think we've completed our 6 bridges in one episode, as well as a couple of tunnels, but there's still a lot of boring path about that we're going to need to kind of fix up and make look a little bit nicer as time goes on. One of the more interesting bits being over here, this side here. Can you see this path that goes down the side of the mountain? It actually then goes round sort of into the mountain as well. There's like a weird little tunnel here. I think if we were to stick some water up there, we can have a nice little waterfall going down into that canyon and so on. So lots we can still do. There's another little tunnel here as well. But this is going to be a fun project we can just come back to as and when we fancy doing something a little bit different. And hopefully over time this will evolve into a lovely trail that we can ride our horse on, which you may have noticed I still don't have a horse, but I do at least have a saddle. We did sort of have a little break and catch one halfway through that time lapse there, but I've since misplaced it, so I've absolutely no idea where that's gone. It's probably in my storage system somewhere. But sadly, that does bring us to the end of today's episode. I hope you've enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see you all on the next one. Bye-bye now. Last episode, we built an epic path connecting a brand new village to our starter island, and along with that, we built 6 bridges, a couple of tunnels, and it was just a lot of hard work. But this episode, we're going to do something a little bit more chill, and you may notice we're back over here in our storage area. And if you are new here and haven't seen it, this is our tiny epic garden, and just under this matchbox that we're in, we have many, many floors of auto storage, but it doesn't quite sort everything. I did point out last episode that the wood area is still missing a few things, but also 120 is coming, and along with that, there's a lot more stuff we're going to need to sort as well. But in other news, we are fast approaching 3,000 days, which means a couple of things. One, there's obviously going to be another movie. So another few hours of uninterrupted Beardy is coming, but also with that, I think it's about time we built some kind of, I don't know, museum / achievements room, or just something in general where we can store all the cool things we've collected so far. And I've also made a couple of posters and made some custom paintings that I want to put up as well, just to celebrate the moment. So I think on one of these sides, it doesn't really matter which one, we're going to need to dig out a nice big area, and then we're going to have to collect all the things we actually want to put into our museum. But I guess the question is our beacon hole still there? It is. Look at that. Brilliant. So we can still put a beacon down here to make this a lot easier. In fact, yeah, beacon on this side, digging on that side, that makes much more sense. And a bit later on in the episode, we're also going to be digging out this side here because I want to create some kind of fuel farm for this. I know we do have a kelp farm over on our starter island, but what with the fact we're barely over there anymore, it's not really producing as much kelp as we need. So there are our tasks for today. Basically complete the ground floor of storage and expand a little bit at the top. So first things first, I should probably grab myself a beacon and get digging. It didn't take too long and we've got that all dug out, although I don't actually know how big I need this room to be because I haven't actually decided what I'm going to put in there yet. So I guess the next thing to do is do a little discovery mission and see if we can find all the cool things we know we want to put in here. One, of course, being the dragon egg, but I'm sure there's plenty of other cool stuff we've kept by as well. Maybe. Hopefully. But I think the best place for us to start this journey is going to be back at our starter island, because, well, for one, that's where the dragon egg is, but also I know there's a few other bits there that we've kept in a box as well. So first up, let's grab this dragon egg. So if we take that out, put a torch down, and then do this. Perfect. Now let's see if I can find that box that's got all my other first items in. And in fact, on this armor stand here, what I actually need to do is to turn off the resource pack for the invisible armor. There it is. Look at that. We have our first set of iron armor. So I guess we should probably take that with us as well. So I found the box that has some of my firsts in it. So this is the first dragon head, the wither head as well, the first goat horn, pickaxe, shield, ominous banner, and shulker head. However, it didn't have everything in it that I thought it would, because my first sword and my first pickaxe should be around somewhere as well, but I cannot, for the life of me, find them anywhere around here. And sadly, we can't take our birthday cake with us from reaching 1,000 days either. So I think we're just going to quickly rename a few of these items just so they don't get mixed up anywhere else. There we go, that should do it. And what I need to do, I guess, is see if I can locate my sword, my very first sword and my very first pickaxe, which I believe, no, they could be over on the coast. Haven't we got a column over there somewhere with a chest next to it? Let's go look over there. There it is. Let's see what's in there. I guess at least our first crafting table's here. We could take that. Why not? And the chest is empty, which means I probably used the original tools for fuel. They were made of wood after all, I suppose. Although one other thing I do want to take is a block from the tower that almost killed me in the very first episode. We'll call that the block from Tower of Almost Death. The original crafting table. And the 100% definitely... How do you... Definite... Yeah, just 100% original. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, wooden pickaxe. And 100% original stone sword as well. We'll just have these, yeah, they're definitely the originals. Definitely. Don't judge me. Oh, it's weird seeing myself with armor. But other than that, I think that's pretty much everything we can take over there with us. I have no idea what happened to my original boat. I mean, it might still be floating around somewhere, and I don't feel comfortable making fakes for things. No. I'd never do that. So I guess the last thing we actually need is a couple of picture frames. And do I actually have any of those? Not picture frames, paintings. That's what I need. Paintings. Apparently I don't, but we can definitely get some. Let's go see our sheep friends over here. There we go. We have some paintings sorted, and I think that's everything we need for now for the museum, although there is one other thing we're going to do once the room is a little bit more built up. But now we can start working out where we actually want to put things. So these are the things we're going to be displaying, and that means we've got 7 items that need to go into picture frames. We've got 2 items here that kind of go together and will be displayed. Of course, the dragon egg having pride of place. And then we've got another couple of items here and a couple of heads too. So we kind of want to make different areas for all these. Oh my god, there's a giant slime! So, as I was saying, so we have 7 items that need to go into frames, and then we've got 6 items here that can have their own sort of stands, one of them with pride of place. We have 1 armor stand, although, to be fair, we could make others with other suits of armor just to make it look cool, even if they don't actually mean anything. And, of course, we've got a few paintings, which are going to be the posters celebrating each 1,000-day goal that we've reached so far. And I think the last thing I want to do is probably right on the back wall. I might actually put a map wall, or possibly in the floor or something, because I think it'd be quite nice to actually have a map. It's going to be quite zoomed out, I think, because we're quite spread out. But having a map of all of the locations we have in the world where we've built, I think that'll be really cool. But first things first, I need to get this room looking a little bit nicer so we can start working out where stuff's going to go. And that means you're probably about to get a short time lapse. I think that's going to do roughly for the size of the hall for now. We've got plenty of space here for armor stands. We've got bits where we can put other blocks. We've got space for heads. We can put the dragon egg in, and we've got plenty of wall space for hanging things up. I do, however, need to sort the ceiling out, so let's get that in next, I think. Well, that's looking nice and bright, which is exactly what I wanted. We've got lots of foliage in the ceiling, which is also providing lights from the glowberries. We've got lights behind where the map wall's going to be, lights behind the item wall, and of course, lights behind where the pictures are going to be going. The picture frames with the posters we've made. And lastly, we've got these nice little podiums where we're going to be putting everything on. And in fact, I think we can probably make a start on doing that now. So we're going to have 5 armor stands here for the different armor types. And then we've got a couple of blocks we want to put here. So we've got the original crafting table and the block from the Tower of Almost Death, which I know as soon as we place, they're actually going to lose their name. But we can stick signs on the front and actually indicate what they are. And then we've got the Wither Skull, we've got the Shulker head, and of course, we've got the dragon head. And on this podium here, we have, of course, the dragon egg. And then I've just got a bunch of stuff that I kind of want to put in these frames over here. I don't really know what order to put them in, so I guess it doesn't really matter too much. There we go. I guess that's the wall of random knickknacks, and we've got space for a few other bits and bobs as we... Oh my days. I think it's thundering. Maybe we should go to bed and get rid of that noise. Okay, that's better. We can hear ourselves think now. So we do, of course, still need to make the map for this back wall here, and we need to hang up our posters for 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000 days once we get there. So I guess we can't do that one there yet. But let's get these first ones in and see how they're looking. Good stuff. Look at that. They actually look really cool in here. Excellent. So we just need to do one for 3,000 days, but we're not actually at 3,000 days yet. So I guess we're going to have to do that towards the end of the episode. For now, I need to get some armor on these stands. I need to get some signs up and just, well, I guess make a massive map of our entire world. That bit could actually take a while. Let's get the armor stands done first. And there we go. We've got most of the armor in. As you can see, I actually have 2 diamond sets there, but that's because I need to go get some more netherite. And of course, we still need to make the map for the back wall here. So I think the next thing we're actually going to do is probably that map, really. To be honest, we should get that done, shouldn't we? So I think I've got a plan on how I'm going to map things out. This is basically a 7x4 map wall, as you can see. That's kind of where they're going to go. So this is the bottom left-hand corner, which is actually where we are now. However, there is a slight issue in that, well, we're quite far away from everything, which means we are going to need a massive map. So I'm going to start using this map, which is a sort of 2x scale, I think, or something like that. I've made it bigger, that's all I know. In fact, if I hover over it there, yeah, you can see it's scaling at 1:4, and these ones here, they're just empty maps at the moment, and until we create them, we can't actually scale them. So my plan is basically just to fly and fill up this map, and then as soon as I go across the border, I will start a new map, get it to the right scale, and then continue flying. And in theory, we should be able to map out the whole area. And hopefully we'll be able to get it inside a 7x4 map wall. If not, then I guess we're going to have to do the whole thing again on a different scale. So let's just hope it goes well first time, shall we? So, yeah, turns out the map wall needed to be a whole lot bigger. Oh, my days. So, yeah, we tried initially with a 7x4, I think it was, and now we've got a 9x9. And even then, we can only just get all of our things in. We've got our lovely little, look at this tiny little brown splodge down here. This is actually where we are now in our tiny big garden. And all the way in the top corner there, that is our starter island. You can see the path we built last episode that winds all the way down. This is the village that we built. But yeah, that is a vast distance that we've been covering. I didn't realize it was quite so far away. And what that tells me is we've got a lot of stuff we need to build in the middle here, so we can at least make the world a little bit more connected. And the funny thing is, this isn't even the end of it. Right up here somewhere, probably about another 3 or 4 maps away, we've got our Guardian farm, and a few maps that way, we've got our slime farm. So this isn't even the whole world we've built in. But yeah, this definitely tells me we need to do something. Maybe on this island here, actually, that... I reckon we could probably do something with that island. Maybe we need to go check that out in person. In fact, that could be a really good site for our next big project, which we'll be starting in the next episode, and I'm very excited about. But for now, I think we can actually call this room done. And the only thing I'm slightly sad about is how cool this area actually looks on a close-up map. Look at that. That looks absolutely amazing. However, we're going to have to find somewhere else to put this map, I think. If we were to actually map out this whole area on little maps like this and put it up somewhere, I think that could look quite cool, but it's not really going to work in there, is it? We'll come back to that another time. For now, we have another project we need to move on to, and that is on this wall here. And you may notice I've actually used the purple on that side, not this side, so we're going to have to change the floor out, but that's very small in comparison to what we actually need to do. And that is to create some fuel for these furnaces. So I could make another kelp farm, but, well, we've already done a kelp farm, so I don't really want to make another kelp farm. But something else that burns well, although it burns very quickly, is bamboo. So we could put a giant bamboo farm back here and have that kind of autofill all the smelters, I guess. I mean, we don't use it very often, but when we do use it, we want to make sure we've got lots and lots and lots of this stuff available. We'll still keep the manual loading system here as well, but I think if we were to go around the back of these furnaces, we can probably come up with some kind of a plan. That is not how I get around the back, it's one of these things. There we go, this one here, excellent. So, actually, this is going to be a bit more difficult than I thought. Because I've got double wide furnaces here, I can't really... Yeah, I won't really be able to automatically feed the bamboo in unless we constantly had, like, minecarts and stuff going. But with the amount of bamboo we'd need, that's not really going to work. Oh, I need to rethink this. Yeah, this is definitely a problem. I've been standing here for a couple of minutes now, and I don't really know what the solution is. I definitely want to have a fuel farm down there, and ideally something that just keeps this loaded the whole time. But that's not really going to work with bamboo, is it? I wonder. I mean, I guess we could do something a little bit different and use dripstone and lava. Can we make some kind of, like, lava conveyor belt thing where we can just stand there and bucket up loads of lava and then just... I mean, I suppose we'd still have to manually load it, but... I'm really not sure. What do you think we should do? I don't know. Should we come back to this next episode or in future when we've actually got a better idea for a fuel farm? Maybe I should have thought about this a bit more. But if you've got any ideas on how we can solve this problem, I mean, as I say, we could just put another kelp farm in there and manually make the kelp blocks and load it up, but I kind of wanted to do something a bit different. So let me know your thoughts, I guess, and maybe next episode or a bit further down the line, we'll come back and do something down here. Who knows, maybe even later in the episode. In fact, the next cut might be me making a farm down here if I actually think of something. Well, I never did think of anything, so I headed off to the mesa to basically destroy it, because we're going to need a whole lot of terracotta for our next project, and I figured what better time than now just to pick some up while I just think about my failures and how to actually make some kind of efficient fuel farm. Well, I think that's enough procrastinating for today, but we've just dug up so much mesa, we have all the terracotta in the world, and I also got myself a whole bunch of sand, because we're actually going to be needing these for our next project. I know what I want to build, I just don't know where I actually want to build it yet. But anyway, we've got other things we need to be doing, and that is essentially blowing up the Nether. We need to go blow up the Nether, but for that we're going to need a whole bunch of TNT. But that's not a problem, we can make loads of that. So I managed to make myself 6.5 stacks of TNT. That should be enough to get the netherite we need for the armor, unless I have extremely bad luck. And we're going to need our flame bow as well, so let's just grab that. Right, let's go blow some stuff up. Well, I've made it to the end of tunnel number 2, and we've got ourselves 26 ancient debris from about 5 stacks of TNT, so not too bad. I've just got to find my way out again. It was that way. There we go. But hopefully that means we've actually got enough netherite to sort out that armor. And we did also have a bit of an incident with some pigos in there, but that was pretty easily dealt with. So let's quickly just chuck this in here and get that cooking. And while we wait, what I want to do is sort out all this gold because, well, we don't really have any gold supply at all at the moment. We still haven't made a gold farm. So I did actually snatch all the gold I saw while I was in the Nether. Well, we got almost 3 stacks of gold from that. That's okay. And we're going to need to use a bunch of that to make the netherite ingots. And we've got 6 of those, which is a couple more than we need, at least for the armor. We still need some more for storage. And I've just destroyed something. What did I just destroy? Well, let's not worry about that. Let's just grab all this armor and get it netherited up. And then get all this back on the armor stand. And now I think the room is actually complete. I mean, we've still got a bit of space here for some further trinkets as we find them in game, but I think that's looking pretty good. I'm actually really pleased with that room, and those posters especially I think really stand out as well. Excellent stuff. And in fact, speaking about the posters, I have made the 3000 Days full movie poster. We've even got our dolphin friend in there as well. He was definitely a highlight of the 1000 Days for me, but obviously most of it rotated around the storage and this tiny garden area, so I think that portrays it quite well. And if the poster's up, that can only mean one thing. We've actually done it. We've made it to 3000 days, and I'm very, very happy about the whole situation. But this marks another landmark as well, because not only have we lasted all the way to 3000 days, but it's actually 1 year pretty much to the day when I created this world. So that means next episode is going to be a bit of a celebration episode. We're going to celebrate reaching 3000 days. We're also going to celebrate the fact that we have lots of builds in our world by doing a world tour. We might even crack out some shaders if you're lucky, who knows. And then after that, for the next 1000 days, we're going to be starting our next project. And I'm kind of leaning towards maybe this area here. I really do think that island is going to suit this project well. So let's quickly fly over there and have a look. Okay, I think this is it coming into view now. Let's get a little bit more of a bird's eye view of this place. Oh wow, look at that. This place is big, but a good kind of big. I think this is going to work quite well, especially with the savannah at the side as well. Lots of bright green here, medium green, kind of dead grassy green over there. Excellent. So yep, I think this is going to be the location for our next project. We're going to be spending a lot of the next 1000 days here. In fact, probably even more than that, because we're going to be building ourselves a mega metropolis. Basically just a big old city. And that's going to be our industrial area. Because we've got lots of little farms, it's about time we built some giant ones. But we'll discuss more about our plans for this area in future. It's going to be a lot of fun over here. But for now, I guess this is where we part ways. See you on the next one. Woo! 3000 days!